implicit disparity, with the relationship between the two countries being far from reciprocal. Ramaphosa says available data shows otherwise. His spokesperson, Vincent Magwenya.
This contested interpretation forms part of the issues under consideration by the negotiating teams from South Africa and the US. Accordingly, South Africa maintains that the 30% reciprocal tariff is not an accurate representation of available trade data.
Magwenya says diplomatic efforts will continue towards more balanced trade relationships with the US.
The president urges government trade negotiations teams and South African companies to accelerate their diversification efforts in order to promote better resilience in both global supply chains and the South African economy.
Parliament's Correctional Services Committee says it will expect Minister Pieter Groenewald to clarify his thinking about corporal punishment being reintroduced into the penal system. Groenewald made the controversial remark during his budget vote debate last week, suggesting it is an alternative to counter overcrowding and lowering costs for those who can't afford bail of under 1,000 rand. Yesterday, chairperson of the committee said her preference would be for community service to be considered instead. Lindsay Dantlinger reports.
Committee Chairperson Gamotso Ramolobeng says she was surprised by Minister Pieter Groenewald's call for a debate on the return of corporal punishment because it goes against the Constitution. The practice was outlawed in prisons by an Act of Parliament in 1997. Ramolobeng says Groenewald's view is not one shared collectively by the committee.
There are other measures that we can try to deal with or come up with alternatively that must deal with overcrowding outside of corporal punishment.
She says Groenewald's suggestion to reopen the debate on corporal punishment could also have implications for schools.
We would probe the minister. Why did he make those assertions and what informs them so that he takes us through that.
Meanwhile, the committee has welcomed the department's plans to review the Correctional Services Act to make provision for foreign nationals to be deported and to serve out their sentences in their home countries. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
Eastern Cape Judge President Selbie Mbenenge has provided a tracker report of the day he is alleged to have attempted to expose himself to High Court Secretary Andiswa Mengo. Mengo alleges the Judge President summoned her to his chambers and attempted to expose himself or to her on the 14th or the 15th of November around 2022. Before the Judicial Conduct Tribunal sitting in Sandton, the fact-finding body is investigating allegations of sexual harassment against Mbenenge after Mengo accused him of making unwanted sexual advances towards her. Zolega Kotashe has the story.
Last week, the Judicial Conduct Tribunal heard from Zinhle Ngai, former secretary to Eastern Cape Judge President Selbie Mbenenge. Ngai testified that the Judge President was at the bank and delivered a lecture on the afternoon that High Court Secretary Andiswa Mengo alleged that the top judge attempted to expose himself to her in his chambers. Mbenenge testified the same before the fact-finding body and brought a tracker report of the vehicle he was driving on that day as evidence.
At 15:14 on 14 November, that is the time when I left Errol Spring Avenue, Mthatha. That is where Standard Bank is located, BT Gaps Shopping Mall. That's where it is located, 908 Errol Spring Avenue, Mthatha. And then 15:20 on 14 November, that is when I arrived at 64 Leeds Road, Mthatha, which is where the court building is.
Mbenenge then says he addressed lawyers on default judgments in the court building and left around 18:15 or 18:30. Zolega Kotashe, Eyewitness News.
And U.S. search and rescue teams continue to wade through riverbanks looking for flood victims in Texas. The death toll from Friday's flash floods has now climbed to more than 100. As more rain and thunderstorms threaten the region, hope is fading of finding any more survivors. A Christian all-girls summer camp confirmed at least 27 girls and staff were among the dead. The White House, meanwhile, has rejected suggestions that the budget cuts at the National Weather Service could have played a role in the disaster response. Gold is trading at $3,334.10 an ounce. The rand is at 17.78 to the dollar, 24.23 to the pound, 20.87 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $69.43 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got delays on the R21 South. This is just as you approach the Atlas Road off-ramp in the Kempton Park area. The accident is causing about a 20-minute hold-up as we come out of Pomona Road while traveling on the N3 North. This is between Alexandra and the Bakru interchange. Traffic is heavily backed up there due to roadworks.
A partly cloudy day in store for Gauteng today. The temperatures will peak at highs between 18 and 19 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour, as the US has slapped South Africa with a 30% tariff hike. President Cyril Ramaphosa maintains that the figure isn't an accurate representation of trade between the two countries.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app. Some walks are just for exercise, others for leisure. But the 702 Walk the Talk is for something far greater. Enter now on primemediaplus.com.
You're with Clement Manyathela
On 702.
Let's Walk the Talk, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app,
DSTV channel 856.
92.7 and 106 FM.
Minutes after 9 o'clock. Dumelang, bonjour. Welcome to the Tuesday edition of the Clement Manyathela Show. It's wonderful to have you with us here on 702. I hope you're good this morning. 30%. 30%. That's the tariff that US President Donald Trump has imposed on South African exports to the US, which will come into effect from the 1st of August. And we are not allowed as South Africa to retaliate. In fact, the US says if we dare retaliate and increase tariffs on American imports in response to this announcement, then the US would raise tariffs from this initial 30% by the same amount that South Africa increases its tariffs. I mean, some key SA exports to the US, like precious metals like gold and platinum, my understanding is that they were placed on a list of products that are exempt from the tariffs package. But anyway, there's a whole debate about how this 30% was calculated by the US. The US says it calculated the percentage by examining the trade deficit between other countries and the US, which is a contested interpretation because our government maintains that the 30% reciprocal tariff is not an accurate representation of available trade data. So based on available trade data, for instance, the average tariff imported goods entering South Africa stands at 7.6%, just on average. 56% of goods enter South Africa at 0% most favored nation tariff. And guess what? 77% of US goods entering the South African market under the 0% duty are there. So the US benefits from this most favored nation tariff because you've got 77% of US goods that enter the South African market under that 0% duty. So where does the US get this 30% deficit? Anyway, our government continues to engage with the US, but whether these engagements will bear any fruit is another question. Now, on Sunday, Donald Trump doubles down and threatens to impose a further 10% tariff on all countries that are aligned with BRICS. So any country that aligns itself with BRICS, Trump says, you're going to get a 30% tariff, a 10% tariff. So on top of the 30% tariff that has been imposed, we would get another 10% for aligning with BRICS. Our president just yesterday was at a BRICS summit in Brazil. So what do we do? If this is not bullying, what is it? We have a country that's choosing friends for us. A country that's choosing who we must align with. President Trump says BRICS is anti-American policies. That's why he threatens this 10% tariff on countries that align with BRICS. So that's clearly going to be us. It's clearly going to be Brazil. It's clearly going to be India. It's clearly going to be China. Clearly going to be Russia. It's clearly going to be the new ones that joined. Was it Ethiopia? Yeah? Saudi Arabia? What are we willing to compromise? Should South Africa stand its ground and continue being part of BRICS and take whatever financial or economic circumstance that come with that? Or do we put the country first and consider not aligning and put our eggs in the one US basket under such an erratic president who can change his mind about us any day? What do you think should be our response here? BRICS nations now represent more than half of the world's population, 40% of its economic output. That's what it represents. 40% of the world's economic output. This is the best shot the world has at pushing for developing nations to also be taken seriously, but also this is the best shot at pushing for the reform of global institutions like the United Nations Security Council and the IMF. And now we are warned against aligning with this grouping. And to show you that it's going to be impactful, clearly or seemingly, that's why Donald Trump, the president of the US, is threatened by it. That's why now he's threatening 10% tariffs on countries that are going to align with BRICS, because he can see the kind of changes that this grouping will bring about. So what do you think our position should be as South Africa? The US is our second largest export market, accounting for almost a tenth of total exports leaving the country. So these tariffs are concerning, especially because for the last 2 decades or so, we enjoyed duty-free access to the US market through AGOA. So these exports are now expected to face higher tariffs. In fact, I saw yesterday in a statement, President Cyril Ramaphosa was urging South African businesses to accelerate their diversification efforts in order to promote better resilience in the global supply chain. So are you a businessman that's going to be affected by these tariffs? Are you worried about these tariffs at all? Maybe you are in the wine sector, the agricultural sector. How is your company preparing for this? How do you respond so that you can stay afloat? How are you going to diversify and build this resilience that the president speaks of? Because come the 1st of August, it's not looking good for us. 011-883-0702 is the number to dial. The WhatsApp line is 072-702-1702. At 10 o'clock, I want us to focus on this case of the higher education minister. And yes, we are going to make noise about this until the president acts. What you may have missed that's new on this story is that there have been more lies, seemingly. There are people, 2 senior officials, that have denied their involvement in the process to appoint board chairpersons of SETAs, which contradicts what the minister said in Parliament. The minister sent a list of the so-called independent panel that helped her appoint the board chairs of SETAs. Remember, just to give you context, she appointed Gwede Mantashe's son. She also appointed Gwede Mantashe's advisor and other politicians to be board chairs of SETAs. And when she was asked, Haibo, how did you make these appointments? She says, oh, well, I had an independent panel that helped me decide. Then Parliament says, oh, who is in this independent panel? Show us. And then she said, no, am I obliged to do that? I have to seek legal advice first. Legal advice came and said, ma'am, you are obliged to reveal that to Parliament. Then she sent a whole list of names, including the name of a reputable senior counsel, Advocate Terry Mutau. Terry Mutau came back and said, that's a big lie. I'm not even the chairperson of that panel. Now, we've got 2, including her chief of staff. Now we've got 2 senior officials from her department who are saying we were never involved in that process. I mean, this woman, to think that she's still in her position and the president has not acted is wild. So we're going to focus on this just after 10 o'clock. And then at 11 o'clock, we are going to do our World of Work feature. Today we're going to be discussing golden handshakes. How many times has our government or even the private companies paid golden handshakes to employees to avoid further, reputational damage or a protracted legal battle? But what laws actually govern golden handshakes? That's what we're going to discuss at 11 o'clock. 11:30, we do our health and wellness feature. Today, we're talking about the importance of routine. Right? A daily routine is crucial for adults because it provides structure, it enhances productivity, it promotes both physical and mental well-being. But the minute you start breaking away from that routine, then you are destabilizing that predictability. So that can have an impact on how your day goes, on your mental health. That's what we're going to be talking about at 11:30 on our health and wellness. That's the show coming up over the next 3 hours.
Clement Manyathela, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
Oh, here's a quick update before I go to your calls. Remember yesterday we were speaking about General Mkonazi, the KZN police commissioner, who revealed that there's a businessman by the name of Vusmuzi Matlala who is somehow associated in a way with the Minister of Police. And what he was claiming is that these people, this man, by the way, I think he's appearing in court this coming Friday, has been arrested. And what he was claiming is that there are criminals here that are even influencing the Minister of Police, because the Minister of Police on net joints decided to disband the political killings task team that had actually helped uncover some criminal activities or a drug cartel, criminal syndicate, particularly here in Gauteng. Anyway, the man who is a businessman who apparently was linked to the Minister of Police, Senzo Mkhunu, turns out he's linked also to Bekele, the former Minister of Police. News 24 is running an article this morning about this businessman, Vusmuzi Ket Matlala, who received, remember, this is a businessman who received that 360 million rand police tender, which was probably adjudicated during Bekele's time, but then it was accepted and approved during Senzo Mkhunu's time. The contract has since been cancelled, but this man has already received 50 million rand. And you know why he received 50 million rand already? Because even when there was an internal audit committee that said to the National Police Commissioner, something is wrong with this contract, the National Police Commissioner waited over 100 days before he could act. And by acting, I mean cancel the contract, which then meant that the SAPS had now paid out this 50 million rand to this company. Now the contract has been cancelled, but the guy has walked away with 50 million rand because there was a delay in acting swiftly to stop that contract. Anyway, the same man who received that contract, who's been arrested, it turns out he's got an apartment, a luxury apartment in Pretoria, and Bekele has stayed at that apartment in January this year. Bekele hasn't denied this. News 24 spoke to him. He told them that, yeah, I know him, but he's not my friend. We're not really friends, but he's made his apartment available and I've stayed there. What does that tell you? Huh? This is the same question I asked about, was it Paul Mashatile who stayed at, was it Edwin Sodi's house? Yeah, it's Paul Mashatile, our deputy president, who had at some point stayed at Edwin Sodi's house. I don't know, was it in Durban or in Cape Town? I mean, that's bizarre for me. And at some point, I think the house that he had stayed at in Cape Town or Durban was one of the houses that had been attached, I think, by the asset forfeiture unit, or the SIU was involved there. So, I don't know. How do you slice it? Bekele clearly seems to be linked to this man. He tells News 24, well, I don't really know this man. I met him this year. But yes, we're not friends, but I stayed at his apartment. So fascinating that you're not friends with someone, but for some reason they make their luxury apartment available for you whenever you are in Pretoria. Yo, Aishem, this country, we're in trouble. It's 20 minutes after 9.
Your voice,
Your station.
your open line
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela.
on 702.
George, you calling from Benoni. You want to talk about Trump and BRICS? Good morning.
Yeah. Before I get to Trump and things, I just want to echo your sentiments about this country, where it's going. It's not going there, it's there already, okay? It started a long time ago, and again, it's a systemic issue. One of the fundamental ironies of the so-called democracy at the wrong time, there's a thing called sequencing. Democracy is not just, okay? People say democracy equates justice. No, it doesn't. But let me get to Trump. Again, another issue here. The fundamentals of this issue is a thing called might is right. Power is right. So power always writes the rules. 1948 and 1945, the Bretton Woods agreements, multilateral systems being set up post-World War, were set up by the victors who set up the rules to say this is how we will determine the future of the world. And that's how things have run since then till now.
Mm-hmm.
We just walked into this system and took it and accepted it. You know, you talk about the elephant principles in trade issues and all that. Trade is war by another name. If you don't understand war, if you don't understand politics, you first of all have to understand trade. Trade is the ultimate weapon used by countries to fight each other. There's nothing else. That's a fundamental. If you don't understand trade issues, you are lost. Now, finally, Trump has been the best thing for us because the rest of America has always been subtle, okay? Subterfuge and beguiling us that everything is right, that democracies, they are helping us. Trump has exposed the thin veil of hypocrisy that the West, particularly America and Britain, have always fopped on developing countries, and we have glibly accepted it. Our naivety is shocking. I'm so disappointed with the sheer quality of our leadership and the gullibility of our people, and I'm sorry to say that, and I'm not blaming the people, but I'm just saying we just go there and believe it's democracy as if it equals justice. We need to be taught a lesson in what is called realpolitik because we don't understand it. And how do you do that? You have to go through hell, okay, before your eyes are opened. We just walked around post-independence, just figured they were free, the liberators. Like it was just like from evil apartheid, things will just go away. No, you don't. You have to reach Everest, you have to go through hell. And that's the reality of life.
Okay, George in Benoni, thank you for your thoughts. Let's go to your WhatsApps.
Clemmy, goeiemorgen man. Floris here from the Western Cape. Clemmy, Trump is just a plain bully man. Period. And if South Africa is going to sit back and allow Donald Trump to dictate to us, then we are really pushovers. There are so many markets that we can go and explore and rather export our stuff there. This is not going to work. We cannot hang on to or sit in an abusive economical relationship, man. So the lawmakers of South Africa should just step up, man, and do what's best for our citizens. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
So, Clement, there's no other way. We have to bow down. It's just how it is. South Africa, we need to bow down to America. That's just how it is. There's nothing else. It's not like Ramaphosa is going to do them Mugabe thing. Hey, Trump, you keep your America, we keep our South Africa. Nah, we have no choice. Literally, what other option do we have? Like, literally, look at it. There is no other choice. We can debate all we want. There is no other choice. We have to bow down to the bully.
Sure.
That's it. Until the next president comes through, maybe there's a phew. Thank God the bully is gone.
Yeah.
You know, it's sort of like the bully's out of high school now. We can live our lives. So that's how it is. Hot from Unpack.
Okay. That's why I hear you. Hey, I'm uncomfortable with that idea, guys. I'm sorry. I'm really uncomfortable with the idea that we have to be so submissive as a sovereign state to some superpower. I mean, what's the limit, guys? Huh? What's the limit? Tomorrow, if Donald Trump comes tomorrow, let's say we've got elections in this country and the majority vote for, I don't know, EFF, for argument's sake, gets 60% of the vote. And Donald Trump says, I don't want Julius Malema as president. What's going to happen, Khotso? What's going to happen? Or we vote and then Jacob Zuma, for some reason, or someone in the MK party, I don't know. Or even now, Donald Trump comes and says, I don't want Cyril Ramaphosa as president. What's going to happen? Because Kaloku, to your metric, we have to bow down to the bullying. So what? What must happen? So move Cyril Ramaphosa because some president in the US doesn't want him to be president here? The point I'm trying to make is, what are the limits? Careful what you wish for. It's going to start, yes, with the tariffs. Don't align with Russia. Don't align with China. Don't align with BRICS. That's where it begins. And the minute you start accepting the small little bullying tactics, then the big ones come. And because you've accepted the smaller ones, what's going to be your justification of standing up against Donald Trump and saying you are not going to choose a president for us when you have allowed him to choose your friends and everything else you've done throughout the years? Careful what you wish for.
Good morning, Clement. It's Chusa here. Clement, I've got just 2 points to make. Number one, on the tariffs issue, Donald Trump. If this was done in Africa, we would have been calling it dictatorship. But because it's America, no, it's well and fine. Point number two, Clement, I don't think, again with the current president, he is going to push back. No, it's just going to be a ship. Just you bend your head down and you take the instructions from Donald Trump. We will be on the receiving end. I don't see our president retaliating or standing his ground because as much as it's difficult to say, our president doesn't have the backbone for it. Thank you, Clement. It's Tuso here.
Hi, Clement. Let's be fair, bruh. This BRICS is not helping us with anything. Why are we not just quitting that BRICS thing? Because it's not gonna do anything for us. And you know, these tariffs are going to affect us very badly.
Morning, Clement. Sarah from How to Be a Sport. I think that we should not allow Trump to bully us. Stay with BRICS, and that's it. Don't play his game. He will be out in another 5 years, so, you know, or whatever it is. I definitely think we should not allow ourselves to be bullied. As you said, India, China, more than half of the world's population. Let's just carry on keeping our eye on our ball and forget President Trump's ball. Okay, bye.
I agree with that. So, I want to hear from businesses as well. Are you concerned at all about these tariffs? 30% is a big number. 30% is a big number on exports. How are you going to deal with that as a business? Maybe you work for a company. What conversations are you guys having? But guys, we cannot ignore the fact that there's a rise of the global South is increasingly changing the international system. It's challenging the conventional Western narrative of global dominance. And the global South is emerging as a player on the world stage. We can't ignore that. The world is shifting. And it's been shifting. BRICS mentioned the other year that it's starting to work on the de-dollarization of their trade. And of course, that's going to take a lot of time. But that's a significant shift that Donald Trump himself doesn't want. Look at what happens even on the continent. France is being kicked out of Africa. Have you seen the political instability in the former French colonies on the continent? It's like there's an Arab Spring of sorts playing out in West Africa from what we've seen in recent years. 8 governments were overthrown in Francophone African countries in the last, 4 years alone? With the military seizing power, whether it's Niger, Mali, Guinea, Burkina Faso, Chad, in Sudan. And that has given rise to that phrase of Africa's coup belt. I'm just giving these examples to demonstrate the changing global dynamics. The global south is getting emboldened. Developing countries are no longer just marginalized from the international community. They're beginning to have a voice, and the argument they're making is BRICS is the best shot at that. Unless you're suggesting that our government must somehow reassert the old global order of Western domination. Times are changing. Put your eggs in different baskets. Yes, work with the US. They can still be our friend. But that doesn't mean we must walk away from our friendships with BRICS. But no. What Trump wants is put all your eggs in this basket of the US. Why? So that it can control you. That's a mistake we will make as South Africa. It's 9:32. Swiss High.
Thanks, Clement. Good morning. KwaZulu-Natal police have intensified the search for a remaining suspect connected to the murder of 6 people in Umlazi. This after police tracked down one of the 2 suspects in Krugersdorp, Gauteng last week. The 28-year-old was arrested and charged with 6 counts of murder, unlawful possession of firearm and unlawful possession of ammunition in relation to the attack last year. The first winter initiation season death has been confirmed in Limpopo. The Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs Department says 19-year-old Raymond Sekele died after being admitted in hospital in Sekhukhune. It's understood that he was receiving medical treatment for epilepsy during his admission at the initiation school. And US President Donald Trump says ceasefire talks are going well as Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and America are working on a controversial plan to relocate Palestinians. Trump is hosting Netanyahu at the White House as indirect ceasefire talks with Palestinian armed group Hamas in Doha are ongoing this week. And those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 10 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
There's bumper-to-bumper traffic on the R21 South. This is just as you approach Atlas Road, and this is due to an accident that's been reported. Delays as you come out of Pomona Road while traveling on the N12 as well as the R24 West. A car stuck on the road right near the Kiludis interchange is causing delays coming out of Edenville Road. Please be on the lookout for that one. While in Randburg, we've got delays on the N1 North right after the Malibongwe Drive off-ramp, and this is due to roadworks that are taking place along that route, so please be on the lookout there. Travelling on the N1 South out of Midrand, delays between New Road and Allendale Road. There's also queuing traffic in the city of Tshwane on the N1 North coming out of the Flying Saucer interchange, and that's due to a major accident. Please be on the lookout for that one as well. I'll have more updates for you at the top of the hour.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Africa Milani.
Weekday mornings,
4 to 6.
The acting mayor in Johannesburg, Mr. Kenny Kunene, is visiting the hijacked buildings. But I fail to understand, he's acting in the position. What is wrong with the mayor? Whenever Kenny Kunene is given a mere 5 days, 2 days, 3 days to be acting in the position, he's able to do the work that can be done in 5 years. People in those positions are just happy to collect a paycheck and do nothing.
Eden, thank you very much for that voice note. It really has been a very visible acting role for Kenny Kunene.
Africa Milani.
4 to 6 on 702.
Feeling lucky? Well, play Powerball and Powerball Plus for 60 million rand in total estimated jackpots this Tuesday, and you could win big. Play Powerball for an estimated 56 million rand and Powerball Plus for an estimated 4 million rand today. Buy your tickets now in-store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120 *7529 hash for USSD. Panda Pusha Play. Players must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. Ituba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
South Africa leads the world's biggest economies, the G20. Under the bold theme, solidarity, equality, and sustainability. But this is more than a slogan. It's a call to action for solidarity, uniting nations through shared purpose, equality, creating fair opportunities for all, sustainability, growing today without costing tomorrow. As G20 president, South Africa is focused on 3 key priorities: inclusive economic growth and jobs, food security for every table, and using artificial intelligence for sustainable innovation. South Africa, leading the G20, shaping a better world. A message by the GCIS.
Quiet, please.
The Wimbledon experience in Mzansi is back at Amex Tennis Town Monte Casino between 11 and 13 July 2025. Enjoy VIP hospitality, the ultimate big screen experience, and more than just strawberries and cream. Buy your tickets now using your Amex card on Howler and get 50% off on limited tickets. Amex Tennis Town, the Championships Wimbledon experience with the Mzansi advantage. Tennis is better with Amex.
The time to honor our past and step into a shared future as a team is here. Corporate and team entries for this year's 702 Walk the Talk are still open, so gather your colleagues together on Sunday, the 27th of July, to walk through the historic Freedom Park heritage site, past the national landmarks, and finish at the Union buildings. For corporate entries, visit primemediaplus.com. 702 Walk the Talk, hosted by Freedom Park heritage site in the city of Tshwane, where footsteps become footprints.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the Talk with Clement Manyathela.
On 702.
23 minutes before 10 o'clock. It's now official. 30% is, of course, the tariff that the U.S. president has slapped us with. So we have to get ready for the 1st of August because that's the tariff that's been imposed on South African exports to the U.S. as of the 1st of August. And we're not allowed to retaliate. In fact, the U.S. says if we dare increase our tariffs on American imports in response to this announcement, then the U.S. would raise tariffs from this initial 30% by the same amount that South Africa increases its tariffs. And I've already spoken to you about the methodology, how the U.S. calculated this 30%, which seemingly is flawed, right? Because they saying that they examined the trade deficit between other countries and the U.S., and that's contested. It's a contested interpretation because our government maintains that the 30% tariff is not an accurate representation of available trade data, and explain to you about even the U.S. goods that are entering the South African market under the 0% duty. So I don't know where the U.S. gets this 30% tariff. Now, Donald Trump has doubled down. He's now saying those who align with BRICS, you're going to get a 10% increase because he says BRICS is anti-American policies. And I've been asking you, what do we do? Should we compromise? Should we stand our ground and be willing to take the economic consequences, knowing though that we didn't sell our sovereignty? Sindile, you're calling us from Kagiso. What are your thoughts? Hi.
Thank you, Clement. You know, when you ask if whether we compromise, if you compromise, that means we have to get out of BRICS. And for me, it's not a way to go. Clement, what shocks me about this thing is that the BRICS nation has been selling us this dream all these years about the BRICS this, BRICS that. Trump is regarding BRICS as his enemy. What is BRICS doing? What is their strategy? Are they waiting for themselves to be well established so that they can dump America and then start their own thing? Because Trump is acting first. We've been sold this dream of BRICS, but it's a toothless dog. What is it doing? They even talked about their own currency. So Trump is acting on the best interest of his country, whether we like it or not, whether it's bad or good for them. It's neither here or there. But what is this dream that we've been sold? The president has just come back from Brazil right now, spending all these thousands and millions of rands traveling all over the places with this BRICS nation thing that they said is going to be a rescue for South Africans. And now we are crying that Trump is doing that. I think South Africa needs to stand and just raise the tariffs as well, because it clearly shows that Trump is not going to stop now. And as long as this,
but if we raise the tariffs, if we raise the tariffs by 8%, Trump is going to add 8% on top of that 30%.
Then it goes back to the question that you're asking: what do we do then? Do we sit back and say we leave BRICS?
Yeah.
Is that the option?
That would be the biggest mistake we make.
Raise it. Let's run our thing. If we trust this BRICS so much that it's going to work, as everybody has been crying about BRICS this, BRICS that, we don't see the direction as yet. I haven't seen anything that BRICS has made for us. If we are so sure and believe in it, let's raise the tariffs and run this country with BRICS nations that are there.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
All right, Cindy Lane Kagiso, thank you for your call. James, you are calling from the Johannesburg CBD. What do you think? Hi.
Clement, look, for me, emotionally, I'm with BRICS, but realistically, BRICS is not an option. At least for now. Because I can tell you that, the war between Iran and Israel taught me something, that countries are out there for their own people, And then let me tell you, general principle of China, that China has no allegiance. It's all about them and them benefiting, So even if something can happen, even if Trump can do something to us, China will never come at our risk. So why do you risk it? Why do you risk it? I mean, the best thing for us to do really is to just, I don't know whether we can leave BRICS or not, but I can tell you now that BRICS is not going to help us in any way, shape or form.
Who do we stand to lose more with, and who do we stand to benefit more with?
And unfortunately, Clement, if we, sober our relationship with United States, we're likely to be better off, I can give you two practical examples. South African markets are struggling to penetrate the BRICS market. And then we are trading on equal footing with America and the deficit that Trump is talking about. American companies create quality jobs, and then China, the jobs, it's not a job that you would take, Clement, and support your family. So for me, I think that we are a very small economy, and when you compare, look at the European Union, countries like UK and France and others, they are kowtowing towards Trump, and they're bigger economies than us.
Yeah.
Then why do we think we have got muscle to compare?
But isn't that the examples to look at, James, that should inspire us? Look at the European Union. They are stronger as a bloc. If the UK just decides to take on Trump or France, they're not really going to win because of the superpower that is the US. But through the European Union, when they negotiate as a bloc, that gives them some type of leverage and some type of authority. We don't have that on the African continent with over 1 billion people. So BRICS is our best shot. And also I hear what you say about penetrating the BRICS market. But isn't that what BRICS is trying to deal with now? The issue of de-dollarization, for instance. They are trying to say, even when the last time they were here, I remember I interviewed Sim Chabalala, who was representing some of the South African businesses. And I asked, how do we then penetrate those markets? And he said, that's why we are having this conversation now, to say, what is it that we can offer to also these markets so that there is no deficit even in what these markets bring to South Africa, and all we offer them is just what? Our precious minerals. There's a lot South Africa can offer, and part of being the BRICS bloc is finding those opportunities to penetrate those markets.
Look, I hear you, Clement, but now here's the catch. You look at BRICS itself. What do they stand for? I mean, they went there, they were trying to propose something. I think it was the currency for BRICS. And then India, vetoed that decision. So BRICS itself is not even united. So if you talk about European Union, maybe we must talk about African Union. Maybe we must talk about, empowering us as a continent than looking at BRICS. BRICS is just there to, and I don't even think that we qualify to be on BRICS, because we have a very small economy. We have a lot to do. We still have to develop our people. And I think you agree with me that the most important development that can be brought is in terms of jobs. People must get jobs, quality jobs. And BRICS, it has no history. It has no footprint of creating jobs in South Africa.
Okay, James in the Johannesburg CBD, thank you for your thoughts. Crispin Peary is in Pretoria. How's it, Crispin? Crispin is, of course, the spokesperson for DERCO. How are you, Crispin?
I'm fine, thanks, Clement, and thanks for allowing me to comment on the open line.
Yes, please. I'm interested in your thoughts.
Yeah, I think I want to take off from where James had left off. I think this is one of the things that we should encourage illuminated people like James to also read about, is some of the BRICS initiatives have already had a significant impact in South Africa. If you look at, for example, the Lesotho Highlands project, some of that funding comes from the National Development Bank of BRICS, which allows BRICS partners to obtain funding at a very favorable level, less than the Bretton Woods institutions, to ensure that we're able to finance development. Some of the initiatives around renewable electricity, there's 7 renewable energy projects that the minister spoke about in his budget vote that are currently being constructed. There's also a substation in Soweto that is being constructed to the tune of 2.9 billion rand. That money comes from the NDB. There's also the reconstruction of the Durban port to ensure that we're able to have a facility at that location that's able to trade with the world and is a gateway truly to the African continent, but also as a marketplace for more economic diplomacy. And that has a direct bearing on the triple challenges that South Africa faces, so poverty, inequality, and joblessness, because you can imagine, Clement, with all of this infrastructure development, it creates jobs, and it develops the country even further in very critical areas. So I think before our illuminated 702 viewers make judgment calls on what the benefits of BRICS is, I think they should take time to just read a bit more about BRICS. There are definitely tangible outcomes that we spoke to in Minister Lamula's budget vote around the development of BRICS. On tariffs as a whole, the underlying logic normally in tariffs, for example, Clement, is if you don't make bananas, you can't necessarily say to someone, we're gonna put tariffs on bananas until you make those bananas here in Johannesburg. It doesn't work like that. There are some things that other countries do not have, and that is why we trade. And fundamentally, we need to ensure that those products that we trade with aid our economy and develop whatever market we want to develop in our economy. And that is the principle of trade. I heard someone else saying, well, trade fundamentally is war. That's perhaps one way of looking at it. But at the core of trade is exchanging products that make your markets function better. And that is what trading is about. And I think, as the president's statement has said, this unilateral decision goes against precisely how even BRICS views the world. We need to have a multilateral system where the rules are clear and where the rules bind everybody. We can't have a situation where there are rules for me, but there are different rules for you.
Here's the challenge, though, Crispin. We are sitting now with a 30% tariff. That is going to affect our economy. But also, we're sitting with a potential additional 10% tariff because Donald Trump says if you align with BRICS, then he's going to add a 10% tariff. What do we do? What's government's decision and position on that?
I think at this point, it doesn't warrant panic. There are negotiations that are still ongoing. South Africa did table a particular perspective to the United States, and we would then want to see how that perspective has been viewed. So as you had seen, President Trump has said this would come into effect at the end of August, meaning that there's a lot of runway still for negotiation. Maybe not a lot, but there's some runway still for proper negotiations to take place, and as they are currently taking place. So I think I would say that we understand, we've put forward our perspective, and you would have seen to some extent that has come out in President Ramaphosa's statement to say the way we view it on the available data is quite clear that we have a 7% calculation as compared to the 30% calculation. So there's still room for us to find each other.
But to be clear, we're not willing
looking at the data from the same point.
But to be clear, our government is not even considering abandoning BRICS to appease Donald Trump.
Look, even the characterization of BRICS being anti-American, it is not. It is a body that is there to ensure that, one, countries of the global south trade much more together, like you said in the beginning of your show.
Yeah.
And two, it is to ensure that we have a reformed multilateral system. So even its characterization as anti-American is incorrect.
Yeah. But what's our position? Are we willing to do that?
We're an independent country that will always choose its friends according to its national interest.
Okay. Crispin Piri, thank you for your thoughts. Crispin Piri is the spokesperson for DERCO. He's been listening, and I'm glad that he gave us his contributions there. And Tlantla, you're calling from KwaThema. What are your thoughts? Hi.
Hi, Clement. How are you?
Sure, man. Go ahead.
So, I think Crispin just covered almost all my points. No, Clement, as a country, we're sovereign, and we've already fired the first salvo. I think us taking the Israel issue to the ICJ, and we stood our ground. I think as a country, we should move on in that direction. Yes, there'll be some consequences, but I believe what we have started, we should carry on with it. If Trump raises tariffs, we raise tariffs. Like you said, USA is only, 10% of our trade? 90% is where? I think our like the president says, our business people should diversify. There's a market in Europe. We can go there in Europe. There's a lot of market in Asia. We go there. And I don't think we should be held at ransom. That's because the US is so-called superpower. I strongly disagree with that.
All right. Dadla in KwaThema, thank you. Dawn, you're in the Western Cape. Hi.
Hi, good morning, Clement.
Sure.
Yes. So I think my take on this is that I think we should fully invest in BRICS. I think it's useless for us to continuously have to live in fear of what the next American administration is going to say. And I understand that sure, we can't control all of these, but the relationships we have in BRICS are historically very revolutionary relationships. We cannot forget how much Russia contributed to the freedom of Africa, how it trained comrades, how we even use the word comrade, how our revolutionary ideals are built in that same communism, that same fight against global hegemony has always been there. And I think this alignment is more than economic. It's very political, and it's political for a reason. I think the global south has been excluded, like everyone's been saying. And I think outside of actively taking a stance against the hegemony, there's no way we're going to succeed. We're always going to be stuck in the same cycle, in the same debt cycles, at the mercy of the same American presidents who get continuously more sadistic, who get continuously more murderous, and we're just stuck in a cycle. We can't even complain against a genocide because it will affect us economically. We need to be at a point where if we say no to a thing, it doesn't affect the breadline. It doesn't cause now South Africans a lot of pain. Sharp, I get 30% of goods that South Africa is selling to Americans are going to be taxed. But that's a tax on Americans, not a tax on South Africans. So making things expensive in America, even though it will lower the amount of goods bought in South Africa, it might, but it might also just mean that Americans continue to buy from us at a more expensive rate. I don't know how sustainable it is for a country of consumers to actively tax themselves for consuming, right? So they're just making it more expensive for them to consume the things that they've got addicted to consuming, the things that we produce but do not actively consume. You see what I'm saying, Clement? I don't see how at all, yes, these are threats that affect big business, and I understand it's a complicated thing to break down big business to a personal thing. But I think if we're a forward-facing country, we'll realize that there's two examples of countries that have brought millions of people out of poverty. That is India and China. It's very possible. If we take those lessons, we can do that. There's an example of countries that have developed outside of the hegemony. That's Russia. They've done it through very aggressive moves, and they've been very ideologically very strong about the fact that we do not bow down and we do not play cowardice. When it comes to tariffs, yes, sharp, then it's going to be expensive for us to get American support, but then maybe we don't have it. And then we have to continue in a world where we don't have American support. That doesn't mean South Africa dies. It just means we don't have the support of America, which is big. But I think if we want to be realistic about it, we cannot continue to shackle ourselves to a system that is tied to an already dying state.
Yeah.
I don't see a future for us in kowtowing to Trump.
Yeah, got it. Don, great contribution there. Thank you for your call from the Western Cape. Khotso, you're in Reimsach. What do you think?
Hi to your listeners. I think we must wait it out. I mean, the guy won't be on power forever, and obviously the issue of going to US and embarrass ourselves like that when we give them evidence, we do whatever that we can, and they want to impose their views. Even when we give them evidence, they still said there's this issue in South Africa. Even when white people explained, everybody explained, and the guy still was stubborn. So I think we must wait it out. I think we are dealing with a person that is trying to impress everyone. So I think we must wait it out and not compromise our image and not even show the rest of the world how scared we are.
What's the limit? So the example I gave, for instance, if he comes and says, I don't like Cyril, get rid of him.
Exactly.
What do we do? Or better yet, he comes and says, I'm going to give you a 10% discount on the tariff if you take away the LGBTQI plus rights, for argument's sake. What do we do?
Exactly. And hence, I'm saying we should just wait it out.
But what do we do? I agree you're saying 3 years. Let's wait. So in the 3 years, he's going to come with more demands. So if he comes next year, for instance, because we're waiting him to leave office, right? And he says, get rid of Cyril Ramaphosa. I don't like him. What do we do?
No, I'm saying we must wait it out from a point of view of all this increase that he's talking about. We continue with our business, the Brits, and then we'll just continue. And we ignore these people. And just wait it out. And not destroy any relationship.
Okay.
Just allow him to be, because of we know that he's unreasonable.
I see. Okay. Because I see. So let's take the consequences if they come, but let's not break any relationship.
The consequences and not change direction.
Gotcha.
And not appear weak to anyone.
Yeah.
Just wait it out.
Yeah, and then we must be willing to face the economic consequences that are going to come with that. Yeah, Khotso, I think I get you now. Thank you for your thoughts. It's 4 minutes before 10.
702 delivers
on the matters that matter to you.
This is Leanne from Pretoria. 702 is my companion on my drive to work and home from work every day. They keep me up to date with loads of important information on the news of the world, but also lots of other interesting facts. And I always arrive at work and saying, guess what I heard on the radio today? So I think my staff know me as, guess what I heard on the radio today, whenever I arrive at work, thanks to 702.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts.
so we can deliver more on what matters to you.
702 listens.
Let's walk the talk.
Corporates That Care promotes and encourages corporate leaders and all citizens to walk the talk for a better South Africa. Catch Corporates That Care this Wednesday at 10 to 9 featuring SA Home Loans. Their CEO, Rob Kelso, will be in conversation with Bongani Bingwa. Join us every Wednesday as we highlight the efforts of companies and brands dedicated to building our country. Corporates That Care is a Prime Media Cares initiative with 702 and Prime Media Outdoor. 702, let's walk the talk and make a difference together.
All roads will converge and thousands of stories will come together as one. Incredible. Because this year's Victory for One is a victory for all. As the 2025 Sanlam Cape Town Marathon continues along the route to becoming Africa's first major on the 18th and 19th of October.
Yeah, go major. This is major.
Will you be joining the Cape and the rest of the world? Enter now at capetownmarathon.com and be a part of history in the making when you run the 2025 Sanlam Cape Town Marathon, because you do count.
Cape Town, you have been showing it.
The 2025 Sanlam Cape Town Marathon, proudly supported by 702. Join us as we run towards Africa's first major.
Welcome to Nando's Customer Care. How can I fire up your...
Finally, can I actually just speak to the manager? It's about the chicken. Why did you marinate it for 24 hours? 24 hours, 86,400 seconds to marinate. Why? Well, I mean, it is really tender, juicy, and that delicious Nando's peri-peri flavor just warms me up. And then you add any 3 sharing sides, and I guess, well, there is nothing like it. But that is my complaint. I can't complain.
Nando's, fire it up.
Are you looking for the best savings on spectacles? At Specsavers, enjoy 1,500 Rand off when you get tested at South Africa's trusted and most established optical group. Get 1,500 Rand off all frames in store, or use your 1,500 Rand off on our leading lens enhancements, such as drive light lenses that reduce artificial glare whilst driving. Book online or call your nearest store today. Affordable eye care, Specsavers. T's and C's apply.
The Money Show.
Weekday evenings at 6.
On the next Money Show, personal finance expert Warren Ingram will talk about your mid-year financial health check on your money to see how you've progressed and to figure out what you need to work on for the next 6 months. Dr. Rutendo Ntwingwi, founding director of Tribe Africa Advisory, author of the book Rumble in the Jungle Reloaded, has the latest business news from around our continent. Also, the latest on the top business news from around the world.
The Money Show
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
The Money Show with Stephen Grootes is brought to you by ABSA Corporate and Investment Bank, a leading Pan-African bank and proud sponsor of the African Blockchain Report 2024. ABSA is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
EWN.
Good morning, I'm Sfiso Zulu. KwaZulu-Natal police have intensified the search for a remaining suspects connected to the murder of 6 people in Umlazi. This after police tracked down one of the 2 suspects in Krugersdorp, Gauteng last week. The 28-year-old was arrested and charged with 6 counts of murder, unlawful possession of firearm and unlawful possession of ammunition. He appeared in the Umlazi Magistrates Court yesterday, where he abandoned bail and his case was remanded to later next month. The man has been on the police's wanted list since last year when he and an accomplice allegedly shot and killed 6 people in what is believed to have been a revenge attack. Police spokesperson Robert Nechiwunda.
Investigations uncovered that the killings were revenge motivated. It is reported that the deceased victims, who were both Xhosa speaking, had allegedly fought with Swati nationals who resided in the same area. Melusi Dlamini, a 28-year-old Swati national, was arrested at Krugersdorp in Gauteng province.
The first winter initiation season death has been confirmed in Limpopo. The Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs Department says 19-year-old Raymond Sikile died after being admitted in hospital in Sekhukhune. It's understood Sikile was receiving medical treatment for epilepsy during his admission at the initiation school. He then suffered an epileptic attack last week and was taken to hospital to seek medical care and receive further checkups. Department spokesperson Amos Pago says although measures have been put in place to prevent deaths during initiation season, more needs to be done.
The MEC says working closely with the Department of Health, Education, the SAPS and the National Prosecuting Authority, the department have put all systems in place to ensure that no life is lost. He says, however, this death is a confirmation that we need to work even harder to avert fatalities during this initiation season.
Health Minister Aaron Motsoaledi says he's shocked by the dramatic change in how medical aid schemes and administrators treat black healthcare professionals and providers. The Section 59 panel investigating allegations of racial discrimination released its report yesterday, confirming allegations of racial discrimination and unfair practices. The report exposes procedural unfairness and a power imbalance that disproportionately impacts black medical professionals. Motsoaledi says the complaints filed in 2019 opened his eyes to some of the injustices.
We did not know that doctors are being cheated. As I told you, it's a relationship between doctor and their medical scheme. We only knew when they came to lodge a complaint with the Council of Medical Schemes. During our time, these things were not happening. Because I told you, during our time, patients did not even have to sign anything. It just shows that as the system advances, it starts picking up problems and very serious problems.
The ANC says its days of defending members who do wrong things are in the past. The DA has criticized President Cyril Ramaphosa for firing its Deputy Minister Andrew Whitfield for travelling abroad without permission while he protects ANC ministers embroiled in corruption. And at a media briefing in Johannesburg yesterday, the ANC denied any of its members are being protected. Thabiso Goba reports.
The DA says Ramaphosa must remove Higher Education Minister Nkabane for lying to Parliament about the SETA appointments. It says Human Settlements Minister Thembi Simelane must also go for her links to the VBS heist. The DA says David Mahlobo should never have been appointed as Deputy Water Minister with the state capture report hanging over his head. However, ANC Secretary General Fikile Mbalula says the party doesn't believe Nkabane lied to Parliament. Mbalula says both Simelane and Mahlobo have not been charged in courts.
This thing that we are complicit as a party to the protection of wrongdoing, maybe in the past. At the present moment, we're carrying out our renewal project.
The ANC's Integrity Commission recently cleared 4 of its members mentioned in the state's capture reports: David Mahlobo, Malusi Gigaba, Zizi Kodwa, and Cedric Frolik. Thabiso Goba, Eyewitness News.
And US President Donald Trump says ceasefire talks are going well as Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and America are working on a controversial plan to relocate Palestinians. Trump is hosting Netanyahu at the White House as indirect ceasefire talks with Palestinian armed group Hamas in Doha are also ongoing this week. America's proposal includes a 60-day truce during which Hamas would release 10 living hostages taken during its October 2023 attack on Israel and several bodies in exchange for Palestinians detained by Israel. Hamas also wants conditions for Israel's withdrawal guarantees against a resumption of fighting during negotiations and the return of the UN-led aid distribution system. Netanyahu says they are working very closely with the US to identify countries that will be willing to accept displaced Palestinians. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt of the US says Trump's special envoy Steve Witkoff will head to Qatar for the negotiations.
The utmost priority for the president right now in the Middle East to end the war in Gaza and to return all of the hostages. Also, as you know, there was a ceasefire proposal that Israel supports that was sent to Hamas, and we hope that they will agree to this proposal. We want to see all of the hostages released. That's on the top of the president's mind, so that will be discussed, as well as the many other positive developments we've seen in the Middle East.
Gold is trading at $3,334.10 an ounce. The rand is at 17.78 to the dollar, 24.23 to the pound, 20.87 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $69.43 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got delays on the R21 south. This is in the Kempton Park area. That's due to an earlier accident. The delays are between Pomona Road and Atlas Road. Please be on the lookout there while traveling on the N12 as well as the R24 west, queuing traffic. This is between Edenville Road and the Gilulis interchange.
A partly cloudy day in store for Gauteng. The temperatures will peak at highs between 18 and 19 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour. KwaZulu-Natal police have intensified a search for a remaining suspect connected to the murder of 6 people in Umlazi.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
What are the matters that matter to you?
702 listens.
You're with Clement Manyathela
On 702.
Let's walk the talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856.
92.7 and 106 FM.
8 minutes after 10 o'clock. Dumelang, welcome to the second hour of the Clement Manyathela Show. Thank you for staying with us here on 702. I just want to wrap up the 702 open line with the WhatsApp voice notes that came through once again today. There were just too many calls that we didn't really get a chance to play many of your WhatsApp voice notes. But do not worry, I'm going to wrap it all up with those WhatsApp voice notes before we get into our next conversation.
Clement, please correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't the core agenda for BRICS, especially now, especially this year, was for South Africa, especially the president, to take the business community to BRICS and try and find alternative suppliers and customers and businesses that we can now make business with, to move away slowly from the American market? Wasn't that what's supposed to do to find alternatives so that we don't depend on America and all of these tariffs? Because obviously they're not only given to us, they're given to the whole entire world also as well. So wasn't BRICS sole purpose, especially this year, to do that job? And how would we know if that job has been done? Disco from Midrand.
Clement, as far as BRICS is concerned, Donald Trump can go and jump over the cliffs, because we are not only aligning with BRICS, we are BRICS. So other nations will come after us and align with us. So secondly, BRICS countries must just call it a bluff. Tell Trump to do whatever he wants, then let them trade amongst each other. Let Donald Trump do whatever he does. He's only going to be a president for a few more years. Gone. So why do you have to worry about Trump?
Good morning, Clement. Hope you're well.
This is KB from the south of Joburg. I think South Africa putting itself first would be them aligning with BRICS nations and not to run after the US market. The world is bigger than the US. I was watching Russia TV yesterday, and one of the journalists said that Donald Trump doesn't understand what BRICS is or what BRICS does. So I don't think we should be running after the US. The world is open, and the US will fall behind, and we will leave it behind.
Good morning, Clement and the team. Batabile Dlamini did say to us that they all have skeletons in the closet. There's no way that they will hold each other accountable because they have skeletons and they know each other's skeletons and they know how they are all doing business with the state or with other businessmen. So they are not going to hold each other accountable, the government, and this includes all parties.
Good morning, Clement. You know, in this case, you need to have a spine as a president, because no matter what you do, Trump is adamant that the BRICS nations are his enemy. So nothing will work. Let's see if the BRICS nations are not a toothless dog. They must bark and bite. Let's see. It's time now. Increase the tariffs as well. That goes to USA, because you claim that BRICS is good for South Africa, is good for those countries. So let's see if you're going to live out to that. Let's test the waters. Trump has started. Let's run with it. But knowing Ramaphosa, he will stall everything that is taking attention away from himself, from being removed as a president. He will stall and stall and stall. Toothless dog.
You're with Clement Manyathela.
702.
All right, let's get on to something else now. Remember the conversation about the higher education minister? That's coming up at 10:30. There are now senior officials within her very own department who are saying, I did not participate, as claimed by the Minister of Higher Education. Now, I want us to look at another issue that is just of equal importance. SASSA reviewing the eligibility of grant recipients. And I don't know if perhaps your loved ones have been affected by this, but at least 210,000 social grant recipients are under investigation for having possible undisclosed additional incomes. So SASSA says these beneficiaries were flagged under investigation for having possible undisclosed additional incomes. So they allegedly have these other sources of income, and they had until the end of July to present their cases to the agency, failing which then that will lead to their grants being permanently cancelled. And depending on their circumstances, a fraud investigation may actually be opened. Let's find out more about this and speak to Paseka Letsatsi, who is the head of communications at SASSA. Paseka, thank you for your time this morning. Hi.
Good morning, Clement, and thanks for having me.
So just for clarity, why are some of these beneficiaries' social grants suspended, and how did you pick up that there may be discrepancies here?
Clement, I think as per the regulations of SASSA, if you come forward to apply for a grant, there's a section which stipulates that should any thing in terms of your income changes, you must inform the agency. So the onus, it's on the beneficiary to do that. But secondly, just to respond to your other question, when we do the reviews, we basically work with the credit bureaus, but obviously we also have the memorandum of understanding with the banks, just to check if your status has changed. And we believe and we thought that the beneficiaries will do the most honorable thing if they get employed, to come forward and say, I'm now employed, can you kindly stop my grant?
Okay, and then some recipients, they'll say they got suspended for allowances and not necessarily income. So their income status still hasn't changed, but maybe someone gets an allowance from their child on a consistent basis.
Not true. And I think maybe we may just want to separate the two, because I know the cry was with regard to the COVID-19 grant of the 370, where people say, I've got an income. So this is basically your mainstream grants, like your old age, your child support grant, which we are focusing on. And in this instance, Clement, we work closely with the credit bureau, like I said, and the banks, and we are aware that it's not a contribution which comes from your child, or it's not a contribution which comes from your grandkids. But in any case, the regulation says you need to come forward and perhaps present your case to us contrary to the information which we have. And if that is the case, we'll then be able to release your grant. But let me just take this opportunity, Clement, to clarify one thing. There is absolutely no grant which has been suspended. Two, there's no grant that has been stopped. All what we have done was to delay the payment because the intention is to send a message to an individual that your grant has been flagged.
Okay, but are there others whose payments are still delayed to this day, or there was a delay and then they received their payments?
There was a delay, and today, I think people would have started to receive their grant. We will do the same, Clement, next month, with these individuals who have been flagged. We will delay because the intention is to engage them and so that they come to a SASSA office and clarify the matter. And failing, which I agree with you, which we raised earlier on, that if they fail to present themselves to a SASSA office, unfortunately, we will then have their grant being cancelled permanently.
Okay, hold on. So, I mean, suspension, and maybe this is just like the different words we're using here, right? So,
yeah.
But when I said suspended, I mean someone who is supposed to or is expecting to be paid, let's say on the 1st of July, they didn't get that payment because their account has been flagged because SASSA has got some concerns. Can they receive that payment or they have to come and talk to you at SASSA first and you resolve this issue before they get that payment?
What we do, Clement, thanks for the question. What we do, because people get paid on the 3rd of every month. So if your account has been flagged, you won't get your pay on the 3rd. It will be delayed and the payment will happen on the 8th. And the intention of delaying it is to make sure that you come forward and present yourself to a SASSA office and say, in actual fact, SASSA, you are wrong. I am not employed. The information at my disposal is that I'm getting contribution from my child or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think the matter will be resolved. However, even if you don't come, you will still get your grant on the 8th.
Okay, so just a delay. All right.
Yes,
then
it's just a delay.
For people who are receiving monies from their children, for instance, if there's a gogo or a granddad out there or a father who receives, say, money from Clement, maybe I'm sending 1,000 rand home or 2,000 rand home on a consistent basis, so let's say every month, is that a concern for SASSA? Does someone like that still qualify for this beneficiary, as a beneficiary?
Yeah, you still qualify, Clement. In actual fact, we won't even flag you because it's a contribution which you are getting from your family member. In this instance, it's people whom the information that we get is that they are employed. And we have that information at our disposal. But like I'm saying, it is their responsibility to prove SASSA otherwise. And in this instance, I can tell you, Clement, that we are 99% correct in terms of what we have picked up. But I'm saying if they've got information contrary to what we have, they are more than, they can come forward and say, SASSA, we are wrong, and the matter will be resolved as quick as possible.
Okay.
But I want to clarify something as well, Clement, so that we don't have people flocking to our offices. One, we communicate with individuals who are affected, and we are appealing to them that if they change their phone number, if you change your address, please communicate with us so that when we send message, we can send the message to the right person. Don't just keep quiet when the information is changed. But two, if we have not communicated with you and your details have not changed, don't come to a SASSA office because we will definitely cause unnecessary crowd in the SASSA office.
Okay. I've got some listeners who've got questions and some concerns, so I want to open the lines for them. 011-883-0702. You can give us a call. Have you been flagged by SASSA? Are you concerned about the reviews, these reviews of the eligibility of grant recipients? How have you been affected? The WhatsApp line is 072 702 1702. Let's start here.
Absolute rubbish. You've got to be able to get into a SASSA office. If you are not at the main SASSA office at 6:30 in the morning, you cannot get into SASSA.
Okay, okay, Paseka, clearly frustrated there, not even a hello, but I guess that's a frustration that some of the grant recipients have. I think this one is raising issues around access to SASSA offices that they can't just get through.
Yeah, no, I don't know how to get through, but we had a discussion with Clement on this matter in terms of separating your main applications of people and people who must do the verification. And one of the elements which we said our IT must explore is to make sure that if you have to do a verification, it's not necessary it may not be necessary for you to come to the office. You can do it online or you can do through a phone. But obviously, we are worried that if we do that, we may open floodgates for fraud, or sometimes someone just stopping your ground because they've got a gripe against you. But we have taken all those particular instances or all those particular issues into cognizance just to make sure that we make the lives of beneficiaries very easy.
Just to be clear, what do the beneficiaries need to provide to prove that they are eligible for the grants? And so once they've been flagged, what is it that you would require as proof as SASSA?
Yes, thanks for that question, Clement. They just need to bring to come with their ID and a 3-month bank statement. We have developed a flyer. We are using all forms of medium to make sure that we communicate so that people, when they come to the office, they don't come and they are told that you don't have a 3-month bank statement. Go back and bring it, so that when you come, you know that you have your ID, you have your 3-month bank statement, so that you can say, you, SASSA, are saying I'm employed, I've been getting this payment from a company X, but however, in terms of the information at my disposal, it's contrary to what you are saying. And I think the client, the staff members of SASSA would then take them through the review process. And if the information we have is not correct, the beneficiary will be removed from the red flag, and they will then be able to get their grant without any delay.
Good morning, Clement and the rest of the 702 lenders. Clement, I'm so happy that you did invite this guy to talk about this issue. You know, my money was also suspended and I went to the offices yesterday. And guess what? They picked up that I'm running a shebeen. I mean, now really, that is not an honest income. God wants me to earn money in an honest way. What an insult. SASSA needs to get their system in order. This is an insult to the nation. Really, I was so disappointed. So disappointed, Clement. Thank you so much, Anonymous.
Okay, but yeah, Anonymous, I wonder, do you own a shebeen or not? Because initially the impression you created there was you do own it, and it's unfair for SASSA then to want to qualify whatever you receive every month as income. But then now I think the impression I'm getting is that you don't own it. Maybe some clarity there. But Paseka, in a case that someone does in fact own a shebeen, for instance, and there's irregular, of course, revenue that comes to them, do they qualify for the grant?
Clement, when you present yourself to a SASSA office, we take you through what is called a means test. And I think you would want to check if people qualify in terms of their assets, in terms of the business which they are running. But I'm confused like you, because the listener says it was picked up that she's running a shebeen. But obviously there would be a person who's got a business that they are running. And it's not illegal to run a business. It's legal to run any form of business. But just declare when you come to SASSA that I've got a small business that I'm running. It's making 30,000 rand a month, so that we can take you through a normal means test like anybody else. But if you keep quiet, you don't give us the facts, we'll pick it up from our side, Clement. And once we pick it up, you will be frustrated. And I think what we need here is just people to understand that all that we simply need from our beneficiaries is that please, when you come and present yourself to SASSA, just make sure that you disclose anything so that we don't find it. And then when we find it, you can't get delayed and you get frustrated.
Are there instances, though, where your systems have been flawed in determining or picking up that something is wrong? For instance, if you pick up that someone actually does own a Shabit, but they really don't, have you had instances like that?
We have not so far had that, Clement. But obviously, when people other people decide not to come to SASSA when we have flagged their grant, we don't know why they don't come.
Okay.
But so far, we have not picked up that anomaly.
Okay, because this woman has sent us another voice note and says, I actually don't own a Shabin and I've never owned one, and yet I was flagged. So that must be something wrong then with the system.
There might have been an issue there. And what I would want to appeal, Clement, is that if you have the details, you may just give them to me after the interview.
Okay.
I'll then make a personal follow-up just to see what happened.
I will
and
do
report
that.
back to you.
Yeah, there's another person who says that they're unemployed, 66 years of age, they're frail, they've been going to SASSA because they've been flagged, they've been going to SASSA, and the office, they go there, they wait for hours, and then they close the doors, they tell them to come the next day. So I will give you some of these cases perhaps after the show, just so maybe you can follow up, because also it's unfair to expect people who are frail to come to the offices. You're telling them to come to the offices, but when they come, they wait there for hours, they're not taking their medication, they're not eating, and then they're only told later, come back tomorrow. So at some point, the system has to be somehow smooth. Here's another voice note.
Yes, I've been flagged. I'm a 70-year-old lady. And the only money I've ever received besides SASSA was for my birthday in October. Because I was 70, all my friends and family put it all together. And so I received 2,000 Rand present on my birthday last year, October. Then Christmas time, I received 1,000 Rand also from my family for a Christmas present. And otherwise, there's no other income except for my SASSA.
Yeah. Okay, Bra Pet on the WhatsApp line says, and I'll give you an opportunity to respond, Paseka, in a moment. Bra Pet says, Clement, can you establish from the SASSA spokesperson why SASSA insists on beneficiaries visiting SASSA when they know full well that their offices are always chock-a-block? Secondly, where is the person whose account has been suspended going to get the money to get to the office? Why don't they give beneficiaries the option to attend to the issue online? Yeah, Paseka?
No, thanks. Let me respond to the last one. One of the options which we picked up was that our IT division must just look into the possibility of making sure that the processes are done. But obviously, when you make an application, you come to a SASSA office. And when we want to do the verification as well, we would expect you to come. And I said earlier on, the intention here, Clement, when we take 5 steps forward, fraudsters, they take 10 steps ahead of us. And we just want to make sure that when we open an online verification process, we don't have fraudster. I don't have to come to 702 again and explain that people did not get their money. It's very painful for beneficiaries to be defrauded. So those are some of the issues we are taking into concern so that we don't put beneficiaries in a bad way. But the other thing which we resolved yesterday, Clement, was the fact that our system must be in such a way that you address the issues of the old people who are getting the old age grant. Because what we are saying as an organization is that the 90-year-old, how do you expect the 90-year-old to come to a SASSA office and do the verification? So I think our guys in the grants administration have agreed that they need to make sure that they develop mechanism to make sure that the system is not painful to
Yeah.
the beneficiary.
Okay, AB says, my mother gets rental money from tenants from flats that I have built for her in the backyard. Will she be flagged?
Look, Clement, if a person is flagged, we will communicate with them, and we are appealing from the bottom of our heart that just make sure that the matter is resolved with SASSA, and you make an explanation, and we do not necessarily suspend your grant. And it's such a simple process to do, just to make sure that the matter gets resolved.
So in a manner, for instance, this woman, if you're going to do a means test with her, and then
Yes.
if you figure out that, okay, then she receives enough money from the rentals, then that's when you would make the decision that she's out of the system.
I don't want to go to that level, Clement, lest we have people not presenting themselves to a SASSA office for the fear of their grant being stopped. But I think if there is an income and it kicks you out of the means test, obviously your grant will be stopped.
Okay.
But we don't think people must fear or be scared that their grants will be stopped.
Yeah. So look, Paseka, I really hope that at least you got get the offices in order. I can't tell you how many messages I'm receiving of people who are complaining about the long queues and how they arrive at your offices at 6 a.m. in this cold winter, and then they're still not assisted by the afternoon. They're told to come back tomorrow. That's just not cool. So I hope that there can be a system of sorts. Officials can know that there are people who arrive there very early, so they can improve the system in some way.
No, definitely, Clement. And I think we can have an appointment in the next 2 weeks so that I can give you a progress report.
Please. Thank you. Paseka Letsatsi, Head of Communications at SASSA. It's 10:32. She says the latest in Eyewitness News headlines. Hi.
Thanks, Clements. Good morning. Frustrated pensioners have been queuing outside SASSA offices in Cape Town since the early hours of this morning after delays in social grant payments. SASSA says payments have not been suspended but are being held back as part of a review targeting beneficiaries suspected of not disclosing additional income. A fifth suspect arrested in connection with stealing a 7 million rand transformer in Tshwane is expected to appear in court today. He joins other accused who are set to hear the outcome of their bail applications in the case. And in Indonesia, some flights to and from Bali have resumed following cancellations due to safety concerns. It comes after Mount Liwotobi Laki began erupting again yesterday, at one point shooting an ash cloud of 18 kilometers into the sky. And those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 11 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Travelling in Kempton Park, we've got delays on the R21 South. This is between Pomona Road and Atlas Road. This is due to an earlier accident, while on the N12 West as well as the R24 West, traffic remains heavily backed up there. This is due to a car that is stuck on the road right near the Gilulis interchange. And if you're heading towards Four Ways via the N1 North, please be on the lookout for roadworks that are taking place along this route, causing delays between Malibongo Drive and Winnie Mandela Drive. While in the city of Tshwane, some delays on the N1 North. In fact, an accident is reported there. It's right near the Flying Saucer interchange and it's causing those delays. Please be on the lookout there and continue driving with care. And if you do come across anything else on the roads, we are on X at EWN Traffic.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
The South African Future Trust, in partnership with Startup Club ZA, presents The Big Pitch, the first pitch series offering homegrown startups the chance to secure $1 million in investment funding. So if you're an entrepreneur looking to propel your business into the big leagues, this opportunity, made possible through funding by Oppenheimer Generations, is for you. Entries for the Cape Town qualifier open on the 14th of July and close on the 21st of July. The top 10 will pitch live on the 13th of August. So enter at startupclubza.com. In November, the South African Future Trust Summit will return, where the Big Pitch grand finale will take place. Limited early bird tickets are available for 900 Rand. Get yours now at www.summit.southafricanfuturetrust.org.
Brush, stroke, paint, color, protect, and admire. From roof paint to exterior textures and interior silk, Warrior Paints has it all. The product range and stylish colors are amazing. And what's more, Warrior Paints has crushed prices for incredible savings. Enjoy that good old-fashioned personal service you deserve. For price, quality, variety and service, Warrior Paints is street ahead. Warrior Paints, affordable, lasting, luxury.
To live wealthier, you need to be able to grow your assets. At Standard Bank Private, you get a team of internationally acclaimed financial experts to advise you on local and global investment strategies. Plus, being with a leader in home loans, you can start expanding your property portfolio. So, come live wealthier with Africa's best private bank. Apply online at standardbank.co.za. Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
702 family, there's a 702 gathering. Come and walk with us. Walk the talk. This is where you can meet the 702 family and we can meet you as well. So the family gets along on that day. It's hosted by Freedom Park in the city of Tshwane. It's the 702 Walk the Talk, hitting the streets on Sunday, the 27th of July. I will be there. Will you be there? It's a chance for us to meet each other, to enjoy the fun and the buzz of walking together. And you will be entertained along the way by djembe drums, brass bands, dancers, stilt walkers, even surprise appearances by Zola and Ishmael along the way, thanks to Made in Mzansi. Plus, more on-stage entertainment at the finish line. Choose your distance from the 8-kilometer, the 6.7 kilometer for Mandela Month, or the family-friendly 4 kilometers. Entries are 360 Rand for adults, 200 Rand for kids under 12. You can register now on primemediaplus.com. Come and walk with the 702 family and experience the vibe. 702 Walk the Talk, hosted by Freedom Park in the city of Tshwane.
You're with Clement Manyathela.
702. Let's walk the talk.
All right, it's now 23 minutes before 11 o'clock. So I told you earlier on about two more senior officials from the Higher Education Department who have now sent letters to Parliament, and they're saying, well, we didn't really participate in this so-called independent panel that the Minister of Higher Education, Nkabane, claimed helped her appoint the SETA board chairpersons. So there are two senior officials who've now denied their involvement in a panel to appoint these board chairpersons. And this is after Advocate Tere Mutau already dismissed the Higher Education Minister's claims that he led the selection process. How many more lies has this minister told in Parliament? And for those of you that may probably not remember the context of the story, before I bring in Karabo Khakau, who's the DA national spokesperson, let me just remind you of what happened and give you context. Remember, Minister Nkabane appointed board chairpersons of SETAs. The list of her appointments was leaked, revealing that she has appointed Gwede Mantashe's son and Gwede Mantashe's advisor as board chairpersons of the SETAs. Now, what was curious about those appointments was that the list was riddled with politicians. She had appointed to the boards of these SETAs these politicians and curiously appointed Mantashe's son and Mantashe's advisor. Do you remember which ministry she worked for before becoming the Higher Education Minister? Well, she worked with Gwede Mantashe. She was Gwede Mantashe's deputy minister at Mineral Resources. And after being promoted to be the Minister of Higher Education, she then appoints Gwede Mantashe's son and Gwede Mantashe's advisor to be board chairs. Is it a coincidence? Now, she has tried to defend these appointments. In fact, she was asked tough questions in Parliament and she withdrew the appointments of board chairpersons. So she cancelled that and said, forget about that. And she said the decision to withdraw follows calls for greater transparency. But she wasn't off the hook just yet. Because she was caught. And she decided, oops, I've been caught here. Let me just withdraw these appointments. And she thought that would be it. Parliament wanted to know who advised her to make such problematic political appointments. And she claimed, well, it was an independent panel that helped me. Then she was asked for the names of the independent panel members, and she was refusing to disclose them until pressure mounted. In fact, it was legal advice, even to her, that said, ma'am, you have to reveal the names of the independent panel. So when she revealed the name, and this is the funniest thing now, when she reveals the names, then you realize that she has actually lied to Parliament. This panel wasn't really independent. That's the first thing. It wasn't really independent. Because the chairperson of the inquiry, according to her and the list that she sent to Parliament, Advocate Tere Mutau, came out publicly to say, I didn't chair the panel as claimed by the minister. He said the minister, in fact, intended to appoint him as chair of the committee, but that never materialized. So he was surprised that suddenly the minister is including his name on the list of panel of this independent panel members. So the minister was then forced to apologize to Advocate Mutau for, and I quote here, any inconvenience, reputational discomfort or misunderstanding that may have arisen, right? End quote. Because she was caught lying and exposed. She misrepresented Advocate Mutau's role because she could clearly see that without the advocate's name, that panel was never going to pass the test of independence. Well, there are now 2 more people who have come out from her own office saying, we were not part of this independent panel. So let's bring in Karabo Khakau now, who's the DA national spokesperson. She's the person really that's been fighting this in the Portfolio Committee on Higher Education and pushing for accountability from the president on the part of the minister. Karabo, thank you for making time for us. Good morning.
Good morning, Dr. Clement. Thank you so much for having me, and good morning to your listeners.
I have honestly lost count of the many times the minister, one, has apologized, and the many times that there are people who have come to contradict what she has actually said in Parliament. What do you understand about these now 2 letters that have been written of these senior officials in the department saying, yes, we were on that list, but we didn't really help decide who should be the board chair of a SETA?
It's actually 4 people who've written, 3 who are saying no. So the 3 people who are saying no are, 1, Rulani Ngwenya, who you would know is the DDG for corporate services. The second person is Ubabsishi Nkabane, who is Umabuza Nkabane, who is the Chief Director for SETA Coordination. This is the same gentleman who, on the meeting on the 30th of May, when I asked him what his involvement was, said he knew nothing, only for the minister to list him on the panel, and only for him to now also write again to Parliament to say Marana was never on that panel. I don't know what the minister is talking about. But what is also interesting is that the minister's chief of staff, Nelisiwe Simane, also wrote and said, she was never part of the panel. She even goes to a step further to say maybe the minister is confused about which panel sat on which panel.
Wait, what do you mean? This is the minister's chief of staff.
Exactly my point. I want to quote this for you, Clement. Let me just open this document. Simane is the minister's chief of staff, and you know we're in trouble if the chief of staff of the minister herself says, has maybe what is going on. It is a grave indication because nothing happens in your office without the chief of staff, unless then the chief of staff in writing in this letter to deny says this was all a cover-up, that the people whose names were placed there as a cover-up of a non-existing panel. Simane says, I would list point 4 of her letter. I quote, I did not participate in the sector and recommendation in the selection and recommendation of SETA Accounting Authority chairpersons, but participated in the process for the recommendation of SETA's accounting authorities, but not the board chairpersons. She was not in the board chairperson. And then number 5, she says, the minister's list of panel members was all-inclusive and did not make distinction between participation in the CEOs and participation in the board chairperson's recommendations. She then says, furthermore, in conclusion, as a public servant, I was not paid for additional remuneration for my participation in the CEOs. So here the chief of staff saying there are 2 processes for the CEOs and then the process of the actual board members and the board chairperson. So if the chief of staff itself is even saying, what's going on, that is a clear indication that there is more than what meets the eye. That not only has the minister lied initially about the composition of this panel, it's existing, number 1. Number 2, it's its independence and its comprising of experts. But it also means that in Fikile Mbalula's sentiments yesterday in protecting her and saying she did not lie or break any law, that the ANC is not interested in holding her accountable, that to them it's all systems that go as it is normal, because so that they are all corruption apologists, really, that they do not hold people accountable.
Wait, did Fikile Mbalula say the minister didn't break any law? I missed that.
She said that in the press briefing yesterday. Mbalula said two things. He said, one, the minister did not lie, and two, that the minister did not break any law, and that my attempts and the Democratic Alliance's attempts to hold the minister accountable are all a matter of performative politics.
That's interesting because I interviewed Mdumiseni Ntuli on Face the Nation last week, and he admitted that he had a meeting because he's the caucus leader, and he says, I sat down with the Minister of Higher Education, and after I sat down with her to hear her own explanation, I realized that in fact she did misrepresent Parliament, and therefore that actually is against even what we expect and how we expect ANC leaders to behave. So Fikile Mbalula then is in direct contradiction of the caucus leader in Parliament. And I guess now you have to ask, who do you believe? Because has Fikile Mbalula sat down with the Higher Education Minister? Because Mdumiseni Ntuli sat down with the Higher Education Minister and listened to her explanation and decided that, okay, there has to be disciplinary action here or some action of sorts, which is what Mdu told me last week, that I've written to Lutuli House to say, this is a problem. This minister misrepresented facts in Parliament. So we have to consider taking action.
You see, so that the fact that the chief whip wrote to Lutuli House saying the things you were saying, only for Lutuli House to yesterday, before the media at a press briefing, protect her and deny any lying and breaking of law by the Secretary General of Lutuli House. That is an indication that even Ndumiseni's sentiments that were sent to Lutuli were not taken seriously. That Ndumiseni, as the chief of staff, saw that vele there's a case here, that Karabo did not go to ethics and the public protector and did not go to SAPS and subsequently the Hawks for nothing. That indeed there is a case here that Minister Nkabane must account for. Only for Lutuli House to say, Bona, no, she did not break any law. If anything, he even said it's a case of a personal political vendetta that is based on performative politics on behalf of the DA. That's what Fikile Mbalula said yesterday. But the bottom line here, Clement, is this. This is nothing new. We're not shocked that Lutuli House via Fikile Mbalula is taking the stance they're taking right now as far as cushioning Nkabane from accountability, because they've done that for years. That is in their nature. They've done it with Nkandla only to come back and tell us they had to justify a fire pool that didn't exist altogether with Nkandla. So we're not shocked we're not shocked that that's what's going on. What we say, Runa, as the DA, remains. We're not going to be deterred by the ANC. If President Ramaphosa refuses to fire Nobuhle Nkabane, which last week Friday I also called for her to resign, I told her that she does not need to wait for the president to fire her. If indeed she is remorseful of the mess that she has created for herself at the expense of the people of this country, then she can resign before the president fires her. The president still hasn't fired her. And if the president refuses, it doesn't deter her efforts. Ethics will rule, the public protector will rule, but also we're glad that the Hawks has taken this up. Because fraud, misrepresenting facts to Parliament deliberately on multiple occasions is tantamount to fraud. Fraud, one, and two, being in breach of the codes of ethics, the code of conduct and ethical behavior of members of the executive and parliament is a statutory offence under Section 26 of the Powers, Privileges and Immunities of Parliament and Provincial Legislatures Act 4 of 2004. Those things must be investigated. So we're not deterred. But again, this is a clear indication to the people of South Africa here that President Ramaphosa is again at a crossroads where he needs to choose between Lutuli House, the ANC, and the people of the Republic of South Africa.
Yeah,
and the clear is clear. Yeah. The choosing is clear.
Yeah. Okay, guys, come on. Let's be honest here. Look at the behavior of Minister Nobuhle Nkabane. How do you justify that this woman is still in office? How do you justify, as the head of state, someone like this who is in your cabinet? They've embarrassed you. They've embarrassed this government time after time. I mean, I've given you the context. First of all, in fact, I haven't even played you clips of her showing terrible attitude towards Parliament, where she's just eating and she tells the committee chair, go Google. When the committee chair asks her a question, well, go Google it, find it on Wikipedia. She has demonstrated just belligerent attitude towards Parliament, which the president called her out on. Okay, fine. This person lies to Parliament. Oh, encyclopedia, not Wikipedia. This person misrepresents facts and says, appoint people. Gwede Mantashe's son is Gwede Mantashe's advisor. When she realizes that she's in trouble, because even the president wants to know what happened there, what's going on here, then she withdraws those names and then she says, okay, but it wasn't just me, it was an independent panel that decided on those board chairs. And then she sends names of the independent panel, and it's not really independent. She's just thrown in names of people. He says Advocate Mutau was the chairperson, was not even the chairperson. That's a lie. Then she puts her chief of staff there. Then she puts people in her department. Number one, that proves that that panel is not independent, because these are the people in your office. But more than that, the people have come out now to say, we were not part of the panel. How many lies must this minister tell, even to Parliament, for action to be taken against her? Can we be objective about this? Whether you hate or you love President Cyril Ramaphosa, how do you justify that he's not acting on this? How do you justify that this minister, after her behavior in Parliament and her actions, is justified to stay in office? 011-883-0702. We'll wrap up this chat after the break with Karabo Khachau. The WhatsApp line is 072-702-1702. 8 minutes before 11.
My family's struggling with snotty noses and phlegmy coughs.
Oh no! Have you tried ACC?
ACC 600 is a convenient one-a-day effervescent tablet from 14 years of age, or now also in a no-water-needed, fruity-flavored sherbet-like granules that dissolve in your mouth. Ideal for the on-the-go adult. Ask for ACC 600 effervescent or oral powder at your nearest pharmacy to get rid of the snotties and phlegmings. And trust, if it doesn't say ACC, it's not ACC.
Feeling lucky? Play Powerball and Powerball Plus for 60 million rand in total estimated jackpots this Tuesday, and you could win big. Play Powerball for an estimated 56 million rand and Powerball Plus for an estimated 4 million rand today. Buy your tickets now in-store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120*7529# for USSD. Panda Push-Up Play. Players must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. Ituba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
To walk the talk is to turn words into meaningful actions. And it's what we at 702 are committed to doing every day. We are also committed to following the rules set out by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission's Code of Conduct to give you balanced programming, fair comments, and accurate news. But if we stumble along the way and you feel we are not living up to the code, let us know on comment@702.co.za. And if after that you're still not happy, you can direct your complaint in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission. Email bccsa@nabsa.co.za. For more, visit bccsa.co.za.
When life changes, so should your savings plan. And when your goals evolve, your advice should evolve with them. With Momentum, advice meets your context. Catch 702 in conversation with Momentum on The Money Show this Wednesday, 9 July, as we unpack why context matters in financial advice. Discover how you can get the right support on your savings and investment journey, tailored to where you are and where you're going. That's 702 in conversation with Momentum this Wednesday on The Money Show with Stephen Grootes. Momentum, your journey to success on 702. Momentum is an authorized financial services and registered credit provider.
702.
The Clement Manyathela Show.
Let's walk the talk.
All right, 6 minutes before 11 o'clock. Here's that clip that what Karabo Khachau was talking about. I missed it yesterday during the briefing. This is what Fikile Mbalula said yesterday about the Minister of Higher Education.
As the ANC, we have noted and addressed the matters that arose that affect the Department of Higher Education. With regard, in particular, the matter of the SETAs. The legal framework and ministerial discretion with regard to the Skills and Development Act of 1998 empowers the Minister of Higher Education and Training in consultation with the National Skills Authority to appoint members of the accounting authorities of sector education and authorities SETAs, including chairpersons, Section 11. Importantly, nowhere in the Act or accompanying regulation does it require the establishment of an independent panel to advise or execute such appointments. The Minister is fully empowered to perform these functions independently. In an act of enhanced governance, in a sincere attempt to promote transparency and broad consultation, the Minister chose to constitute a voluntary unpaid advisory panel staffed by civil servants and an outside chairperson. This was done in good faith to ensure that merit-based and impartial guidance informed the decisions.
This country, I'm telling you. Oh, no law requires that she must have even an independent panel. Then why did she tell Parliament that she had an independent panel? Why didn't she own up and say, well, the law actually doesn't require that I have an independent panel. I decided to appoint Mantasha's son and Mantasha's advisor as board chairs of SETAs. Why didn't she take ownership of that instead of lying? And Fikile Mbalula wants to protect her? Karabo, what's the next thing now? So will you guys is she expected to come back to Parliament at some point, this minister?
Yeah, so you'd remember that there was a request made in committee that what must happen next is that panel that she says she appointed must appear before Parliament. So on Friday, all of them are coming. Everybody who even said they were not part of it, they must come before the portfolio committee to explain their non-involvement. But there's one other piece of information that must be considered here, when Clement. Minister Nkabane said the chairperson of this panel was Advocate Terumudao. At the appointment letter that she sent to Nkabane, who never formed part of it, not Mabuza Nkabane. Mabuza Nkabane says, I did not form part of this thing. The minister wrote to me, but I did not respond because Vele Mina wasn't going to part. That letter appoints him as the chairperson. So now we have two chairpersons of the board. We have two chairpersons of the panel who are now. Which one is which? Yes. And Vele, if the minister wrote them herself, the originator of these letters is obviously her secretary, who she was from all along from the other part. So those things must be ventilated on Friday. We want to understand what's going on. We want to get to the bottom of it. And again, this does not also dissolve the entire department away, because the presentation that came before Parliament was authorized by the Director General, right? The presentation that says there was a panel. So if the DG also agreed to be presented before Parliament that there is a panel, but yet we're now asking whether a panel exists or not, even he must explain, because what was weird was on the meeting of the 30th of May, when I asked the whole department, are they all saying they know nothing about the panel? They all said they know nothing about the panel at all. But then there was a presentation before Parliament. So who made that presentation? So the minister's lying is not lying alone, but all of this will be ventilated on Friday.
All right, Karabo Kakao, dear national spokesperson, thank you for speaking to us. After the news at 11 o'clock, I'll take some of your WhatsApp voice notes as we wrap up this chat.
Dear Journal, day 4,602 of trying to be an adult. My doctor asked me how my quality of rest is at the moment. I told him I have two problems. I struggle to sleep at night, but I also struggle to awake at day.
aggressively realizing your age? Get covered at pineapple.co.za. It's simple and like 19 Rand a day, so it's 100% the insurance for you. Underwritten by Old Mutual Alternative Risk Transfer Insurer Limited, a licensed non-life insurer and authorized FSP. Premiums are risk profile dependent.
Want to celebrate Women's Day in style? Then get your tickets at Grammy Award-winning singer Anthony Hamilton and Joe Thomas come together to celebrate the incredible women of Mzansi on the 9th of August. It's happening at the iconic DP World Wanderers Stadium in Sandton, and they'll be joined by South Africa's multi-award winning singers, the incomparable Zonkes, Java and Vusi Nova. Get your tickets now at CompuTickets or webtickets.co.za. Brought to you by Soulful Night, Vetex Events and 702.
When it comes to protecting your workforce, trust the workwear brand that has been protecting workers for over 150 years, Sweetall. Sweetall has overalls and uniform solutions for every industry, so your team is safe, comfortable, and ready to tackle any challenge. Visit our new Boksburg showroom, shop A1 Atlas Road, Westwood, Boksburg, or go to sweetall.com today. Sweetall, we never let you down. Superior protective workwear since 1871.
This is EWN.
Good morning, I'm Sfiso Zulu. Frustrated pensioners have been queuing outside SASSA offices since the early hours of the morning following delays in social grant payments. SASSA says payments haven't been suspended but are being held back as part of a review targeting beneficiaries suspected of not disclosing additional income. Kaylin Morgan reports from Cape Town.
Pensioners, some wrapped in blankets, others in wheelchairs and crutches, have been standing in the cold for hours. Some elderly grant beneficiaries have been lined up as early as 4 a.m. They've gone 4 days without receiving their social grants and say they were never informed about the hold-up. 59-year-old Fatima Bazir says she's paying the price with her health.
For me to come here with crutches, I've had 2 spinal ops which was unsuccessful. And I've got nerve damage, so I have to stand here all day with pain.
SASSA says the review is not meant to punish the elderly, but to ensure continued eligibility and prevent the misuse of public funds. Kayleen Morgan, Eyewitness News, Cape Town.
KwaZulu-Natal police have intensified the search for a remaining suspect connected to the murder of 6 people in Umlazi. This after police tracked down one of the 2 suspects in Krugersdorp, Gauteng, last week. The 28-year-old was arrested and charged with 6 counts of murder, unlawful possession of firearm and unlawful possession of ammunition related to last year's attack. He appeared in the Umlazi Magistrates Court yesterday, where he abandoned bail and his case was remanded to later next month. The man has been on the police's wanted list since last year, when he and an accomplice allegedly shot and killed 6 men in what is believed to have been a revenge attack. Police spokesperson Robert Nechiwunda.
Investigations uncovered that the killings were revenge motivated. It is reported that the deceased victim allegedly fought with Swati nationals who resided in the same area. Melusi Dlamini, a 28-year-old Swati national, was arrested at Krugersdorp in Gauteng province.
In the capital, a 5th suspect arrested in connection with stealing a 7 million rand transformer is expected to appear in court today. He joins other accused who are set to hear the outcome of their bail application in the case. The man handed himself over to police over the weekend after learning that there is a warrant of arrest for him. Jabuli Lembata has more.
The first arrest of suspects in the matter began in November last year, when 11 people were taken in. However, after some time, 10 of those were released due to a lack of evidence. Last week, 3 Tshwane municipal workers were arrested at their workplace for the same case, and although their case is being joined to that of the suspect arrested in November, he has not appeared with them in court. Yesterday, a 5th suspect linked to the matter appeared at the Atteridgeville Magistrates Court for the first time. The man has been identified as 31-year-old Katlego Molepo, who will make his second appearance this morning, joining the 3 municipal workers. Jabuli Lembata, Eyewitness News, Atteridgeville Magistrates Court in Pretoria.
Trade Union Federation COSATU has joined calls for the establishment of a commission of inquiry into allegations of corruption against the police and judiciary. COSATU says accusations made by KZN Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi linking Minister Senzo Mchunu to the criminal underworld are too serious and undermine confidence in law enforcement. Parliament's Police Portfolio Committee Chairperson Ian Cameron has also called for an independent probe. Babalon Denza reports.
Police Committee Chairperson Ian Cameron yesterday gave a list of suggestions on how to get to the bottom of the allegations made by Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, which includes lifestyle audits of all senior police.
Some of the following immediate solutions could be considered, and this is specifically with regard to the integrity challenges within the South African Police Service. The first one is an appointment of some kind of an ad hoc inquiry or commission with a clear timeline to urgently investigate the allegation.
COSATU Parliamentary Coordinator Matthew Parks says given the grave nature of the allegations, the Federation also urges President Cyril Ramaphosa to appoint an independent commission of inquiry. He says whilst South Africans may be wary of another inquiry, the nature of the allegations cannot be left unattended and would be best done by an independent inquiry. Babalon Denza, Eyewitness News.
And in Indonesia, some flights to and from Bali have resumed following cancellations due to safety concerns. It comes after Mount Lewotobi Laki began erupting again, at one point shooting an ash cloud of 18 kilometers into the sky yesterday. There have been no reports of casualties since the volcano began spewing ash and lava. Authorities have placed it on the highest alert level since an earlier round of eruptions 3 weeks ago, and local authorities say more than 4,000 people have been evacuated from the area so far. Gold is trading at $3,327.30 an ounce. The rand is at 17.79 to the dollar, 24.22 to the pound, 20.90 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $69.36 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got delays on the N1 North. This is between the Malibongwe Drive off-ramp towards Winnie Mandela Drive, and that's due to roadworks that are taking place along that route. And speaking of Winnie Mandela Drive, we've got faulty traffic lights right at Leslie, and they are causing delays coming out of Witkoppen Road.
A partly cloudy day in store for Gauteng today. The temperatures will peak at highs between 18 and 19 degrees. The top story in Eyewitness News this hour. Frustrated pensioners have been queuing outside SASSA offices in Cape Town since the early hours of this morning following delays in social grant payments.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app. Choose the 8 kilometer for those walking strong, the 6.7 kilometer in honor of Mandela Month, or the 4 kilometer for families and first timers in 702's Walk the Talk. Tickets on primemediaplus.com.
You're with Clement Manyathela
On 702.
Let's Walk the Talk, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app,
DSTV channel 856,
92.7 and 106 FM.
8 minutes after 11 o'clock. Sanbonani, Dumelang. Welcome to the third and final hour of the Clement Manyathela Show. Before we start with our World of Work feature, here's some of the WhatsApp voice notes that came through responding to the conversation I had with Karabo Kakao from the DA about the honestly disgraceful Minister of Higher Education.
Hello, Clement. The ANC will not take action against the Minister of Higher Education because she was following orders. I mean, she didn't do all of this and choose all of those names on of her own volition. She was following ANC protocols, right? And if they were to now suddenly throw her to the wolves, then she would say, listen, but we met and it was agreed that we will do this, or I was instructed to do this, and so that's why they're not taking action. Otherwise, she will spill the beans. This is Hendrik from Pretoria.
Hi, Clement. The problem is that we are so used to high levels of arrogance and impunity in our political circles. In a different country, we would not even be having this conversation. This minister would not even dare behave the way she's behaving. She comes from a political party, that is the truth, where many others have gotten away with even worse stuff. I mean, like the fact that the ANC thinks it's fine for its a so-called integrity commission to say all those people in suspected for criminality in state capture should be cleared without having been processed through the courts is arrogance. So we shouldn't be surprised when ANC ministers behave this way with so much arrogance, knowing that they will get away with it because that's how they play in their political party.
Morning, Clement. I think the presidency listen. I think the people in the office of the presidency are listening to 702. And if I listen to each lie, one lie with another lie. The strange part is that he fired the DA minister for just going to the USA by
the minister lies. Say no,
just doing that application or not receiving, and he fired the DA minister. So this minister is lying, but I understand she's protected. Kwedemantash has a heavy hand in the ANC, so she walks under that cloud or that wings of the influential Kwedemantash, and that's why she rewards him and his family when she becomes a minister.
Hi there, 702. It's Vincent in the West End. Look, man, on the issue of the minister, I think if you did not earn your position, you are not going to take your roles and responsibilities serious. I do not think that minister has earned the position of being the minister, or being given the most important portfolio in our country. Hence the behavior that she is showing to us, the rude and disgusting behavior that she's showing to us. So I think people must earn their posts, and then by so doing, they are more likely to effectively do their day-to-day job or work effectively.
Yeah, maybe it explains the arrogance, because she probably knew that, oh, well, my party is going to protect me because, I mean, did you hear what Fikile Mbalula said? This is crazy. But you can tell now there are disagreements in the ANC about how to deal with this. By the way, the president is in a corner now, because if he acts against Minister Nkabane, he's going to be seen to be bowing to the pressure by the Democratic Alliance, because the DA are the ones that have been pushing and said, fire this person, or else out of the national dialogue, and. So if the president acts against her now, he may be seen to be, submitting himself to the demands of the Democratic Alliance, and politically that may not look good for him. But honestly, Mr. President, I mean, how long are you going to try and justify? How? What other option is there? And I think there are now disagreements, because Fikile Mbalula yesterday says, well, this basically protects this minister. Says she didn't even have to have an independent panel, though she lied about it. Listen to Mdumiseni Ntuli, because Mdumiseni doesn't agree with Fikile Mbalula. This is what he told me last week.
But do you know the constitution of the ANC?
I know it.
This minister has behaved inconsistent with the constitution of the ANC. That's not how the ANC expects its members to behave.
That's quite correct.
So when something like that happens, there has to be a disciplinary hearing. There's not going to be a pat on the back and says, oh, Mdu, as the chief whip complained, and therefore we're not going to follow up on this. That would be crazy for the ANC to look at your recommendation that says the minister has misrepresented facts and not do anything about it. Do you accept that?
I don't think the ANC will do nothing about it. So I think what is at issue now, which you are raising, correctly justified, is that up to today, the ANC has not indicated its own course of action.
Which is weird.
And the ANC had the opportunity to indicate that course of action yesterday, and what did they do? Protect her. So Mdu has written a report to the ANC to say this minister is problematic, has misrepresented herself, and the ANC must do something. He confirmed that in that interview last week. The ANC yesterday speaks and says, well, what did she do wrong? This morning, we were actually meant to speak to the chair of the Portfolio Committee of Higher Education, who's from the ANC. He cancelled us this morning. Why? Because now they're trying to coordinate a unified position, because clearly there are disagreements here. You never know what's the portfolio committee chair going to say. What if he does admit that this person has done wrong, but as the ANC, the position we're taking is that he hasn't? protecting comrades at all costs. It's ridiculous, really. We don't deserve this. It's 14 minutes after 11.
702.
World of Work.
Let's get into our World of Work feature now. Today, on our World of Work, we are discussing something we often talk about that's often in the news, golden handshakes. What do you understand about golden handshakes? How many times has government or even private companies paid golden handshakes to employees to avoid further reputational damage or protracted legal battles? And what does the law actually say about golden handshakes? Because this term is often referred to as sort of a payment to an employee, mostly at executive level, who retires early or is made redundant, for example, owing to restructuring or a merger or an acquisition. But it can also apply where companies just wants to get rid of you, right, to avoid a fight. When the payment is made to an executive who has contributed years positively to the organization and it's probably approved and declared by the organization, that's now considered acceptable. But when golden handshakes happen in a way, maybe even in the public sector, where they are viewed negatively because you're trying to push someone out or because you don't want a protracted battle, that's when it's regarded negative. So we've invited someone who's going to help us understand how this works, what the law says, if do we even have any that governs such agreements. Advocate Tertius Wessels is the Managing Director at Strategy Labor Solutions, joining us on the line. Advocate Wessels, thanks for your time. Hi.
Hi, good day, Clement, and good day to the listeners. It's great to be a part of your World of Work feature.
So the term golden handshakes, how I've come to really interact with it is when I've been reporting over the years about the many golden handshakes that we saw in government, whether it's the Eskom CEO back in the day giving the golden handshakes because government wanted a different CEO and this one is refusing to leave, or Transnet, or how do we define it and what justifies it? Is there a general law that does, or it depends from company to company?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head, when you spoke about your understanding of what golden handshakes are. And we more commonly also know them as these so-called mutual separation agreements. And they are often entered into in an attempt to reach an amicable termination of the employment relationship, or, like you mentioned, avoid these time-consuming and often very costly disciplinary hearing processes and subsequent unfair dismissal disputes or labor court proceedings. But yeah, in essence, the main issue that we experience, and I think that where we often see public outcry, is the fact that we don't really have any laws or regulations that govern golden handshakes, especially in the public sector. And that becomes problematic because it's almost seen as a misuse of taxpayers' money just to pay away the problem.
Yeah. So can you give us a sense of when and why an employer might choose to offer a golden handshake instead of following the standard, termination procedures?
Yeah, so I mean, one scenario that comes to mind is where there's often grounds to suspect that an employee is guilty of a very serious act of misconduct, or where the employee is no longer considered suitable for their position within an organization. An employer would normally then institute disciplinary action by way of issuing notice. And at that particular point in time, they would engage in a discussion about the possibility of parting ways on an amicable basis. And that's simply to, on the one hand, ensure that the employee gets to walk away with a clean disciplinary record, so to speak, and the employer doesn't have to go through the tedious and often time-consuming process of a disciplinary hearing and then having to defend their decision at CCMA. So there's almost this compromise that the parties try and reach in order to save themselves certain hardships that they might experience if they had to go through the process. But, in essence, that shouldn't always be the case. I always believe that, if there are grounds to suspect that somebody has committed an act of misconduct, our law provides for the disciplinary hearing process. And we should be following those processes instead of just paying for the problem to go away.
So for maybe, people listening to us who are in this situation right now where a company is offering them a golden handshake, what's important for those employees to do first? Like, should they be seeking independent legal advice, for instance, before signing such agreements? What would you advise them to do?
Yeah, I think it's important to understand that over the years, our courts have interpreted golden handshakes or mutual separation agreements as being lawful and legally binding contracts, meaning that both parties must uphold their obligations. So it does become important for an individual that is considering accepting a golden handshake to really consider what are the benefits attached to it and what are the potential consequences should they elect not to accept it. Very often you may find that an employee that potentially knows that they have done something wrong can see the writings on the wall, in which case if they are then able to receive a bit of additional remuneration just to walk away, that becomes an easy sell for them. But where a person is really innocent of any alleged wrongdoing, they need to take proper legal advice in order to understand what the consequences would be if they accept it, because very often these agreements include a clause in terms of which the individual would waive their right to approach the CCMA or the Labour Court or Bargaining Council for any further relief. And it becomes only in instances where you are really able to prove that you were forced or coerced into signing the agreement that you really have a basis to even try and challenge the validity of the agreement.
But sometimes those agreements can be made stringent, right? In that if you're signing this and we give you this amount of money, then you can't really speak about certain things or maybe even speak about the departure. I mean, I'm thinking now of the former UCT Vice Chancellor, Professor Mamokgethi Phakeng, for instance. Whenever you would want to ask your questions about, okay, how much did they pay you? What happened? Often she says she can't say, even the institution itself can't say how much money exchanged hands for her to end up leaving like that. So are those some of the, are you at a better position to negotiate that? Can you go, okay, yeah, pay me that money, but I still want to be able to speak about this maybe after 6 years, or I still want an option to, chat about it. Should I do an interview or whatever? Are you at a better position to negotiate, or is more the employer who's got the upper hand?
Well, look, both parties have bargaining power. And, at the end of the day, a person that is wanting to retain certain rights, loses a bit more demand for payment. If I eventually want to say, but I want to be able to have interviews about it, I want to be able to speak publicly about the reasons why we entered into it, etc., and how much I got remunerated, then an employer would be inclined to pay less for it because they don't want to be seen as having paid this exorbitant amount of money for no apparent reason, just because somebody was perceived as uncooperative or, a troublemaker without there being any real evidence. People would think twice about how they engage with that particular organization. So yes, you have the ability to negotiate all the terms that are set out, including the confidentiality terms. But where it's a give and take scenario at the end of the day.
And I mean, when you negotiate, then the golden handshake, should it represent like if I still had 4 years to serve here at 702, let's use that as an example, touch wood, and I decide, okay, since we are now parting our ways, then pay me the remainder of the 4 years. The amount, so you pay me what you would have paid me in 4 years, or can the amount that gets paid in a golden handshake, can it exist outside of what the company was supposed to pay you for the remainder of your contract?
Yeah, look, I think there is no limitation in as far as payments is concerned. And I think that is a big problem that we have in as far as our legal framework surrounding golden handshakes are concerned, is there's no obligation on parties to disclose. There's no limitation, especially in the public sector, as far as how much can be paid, etc. So you can almost be rewarding bad behavior to the degree that your checkbook allows it. But obviously it doesn't really make sense for an employer to pay you more than what you are contractually entitled to, because, I might as well then just say to you, listen, fine, I'm terminating you with immediate effect and I pay out the balance of your contract. We don't even have to negotiate anything.
Yeah, all right. Advocate Vessels, there are some people listening to us now who are sending us their WhatsApp voice notes. Some of them have actually received these golden handshakes. So let's listen to their stories.
Sia here is in Children. I got a settlement from one of the SOEs because they knew that they didn't have a case. I was dismissed without following the procedure. So what happens? They have to cover themselves, reputational risk that it was in front of them. And I accepted because I just felt my life was in danger. I left.
On my depart with the golden handshake, the agreement was confidential. So me or my previous employer were not allowed by law, after signing the agreement, to discuss anything that was related to the case, even though I was innocent and they could not prove me, because my thing is that I did not want to resign. So I refused to resign even when they wanted to corner me, until I was offered a way out of a mutual termination. But that I took because the trust relationship was broken, because I was no longer going to be able to trust my employer, because anything I was going to do after that, perhaps they were going to find other reasons to fire me instead of what they had initially accused me of.
Yeah, and I suppose, Advocate Vessels, if the company has a strong case against you, why not let the law take its course? Like, why not let a disciplinary process? Unless the company is not too confident of their case and they're like, we're likely to lose more money here and waste more time, so let's rather pay this person out. Because from these two examples that we've just gotten, these people are saying we didn't do anything wrong. They decided to pay us out and we took it because the trust and the relationship was broken, or because my life was in danger, and not so much because I believed as an employee that I've done something wrong and I'm probably going to lose this case.
Yeah, you have to ask yourself the question. There are those instances where an employer or an organization does not necessarily have the proof that you are guilty of alleged wrongdoing. And it might just be that you stepped on the wrong toes. And as a result, you are now labeled, a problem child within the organization, in which case they would, approach you and offer you a lucrative golden handshake, because otherwise, why would you even consider it if you are innocent? So they have to offer you a favorable or lucrative golden handshake in those instances. But where there are sufficient grounds, the disciplinary process should be followed, and the person should be terminated accordingly. And disciplinary hearings, by their very nature, are supposed to be informal processes, not like a court of law that we're attending here. And all that we're really trying to give effect to is to, for each party, the employer and the employee, to state their case, to call witnesses and to ask questions. And then for an impartial and independent third party to assess that evidence, determine whether or not the individual is guilty or not guilty. And in the event that it's not guilty, that should be the end of the inquiry, and we should be able to move on with our lives as per normal. And if the person is guilty and dismissal is an appropriate sanction, then so be it. Let the employee then exercise their right to go to the CCMA and, yes, go through the motions there as well. Because ultimately, if we had to get into this habit of just paying people off the whole time, what's the point of us even having legislation that governs conduct and performance in the workplace?
Absolutely. What's the point? Advocate Tertius Vessels, you've been great as always. Thank you for making time for us. Managing Director at Strategy Labor Solutions. It takes us to 11:31. Time for the latest in Eyewitness News headlines in Pohai.
Good morning, Clement. Thank you. The South African Social Security Agency says beneficiaries who've come forward to verify their sources of income can expect grant payments today. SASSA delayed some payments this month to target beneficiaries who are suspected of having extra sources of income. At the same time, confusion and frustrations are growing among elderly grant beneficiaries whose payments have been delayed this month. The recipients are braving the cold weather conditions, seeking answers at the Cape Town CBD SASSA branch. And Gun-Free South Africa says a systematic failure to control the proliferation of firearms is to blame for a recent flare-up of gang-related shootings in Mitchell's Plain in Western Cape. 7 people were killed in suspected gang violence in areas since Thursday last week. Those are the headlines this EWN. More at midday or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
We've got delays on the N12 as well as the R24 West. This is between the Edenville Road exit and the Glulis turnoff. And if you're heading towards Eastgate Shopping Centre, do expect some delays along Albertina Sisulu Road approaching Marcia Street due to faulty traffic lights there. And please be on the lookout and drive with care. If you're traveling towards Four Ways, delays on the N1 North between Malibongo Drive and Winnie Mandela Drive. That's due to roadworks that are taking place along that route. Those roadworks that are taking place on the R21 North in the Tembisa area are still there, causing some issues approaching Oliphantfontein Road. Please keep an eye on those. And traveling in the city of Tshwane, that accident that was on the N1 North after the Flying Saucer interchange has been cleared and traffic is now flowing. If you do come across anything else on the roads, do remember to share your reports with us. We're on X at EWN Traffic. Otherwise, Karabo Jali will have your next EWN Traffic at the top of the hour.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
John Perlman. Weekday afternoons,
3 to 6.
We had a listener, Joe, saying fire the police minister. I said, well, no, I think moving slowly is one kind of problem. Moving too quickly is another. But should he consider, for example, the suspension of the police minister?
It's an academic issue to say you suspend a political principal in cabinet, really. But I think, John, if you reconcile the minister's remarks before the portfolio committee on police in March, where he vehemently denied knowledge of this Brown Mokhodzi, that is problematic enough.
John Perlman.
3 to 6 on 702.
SASSA Communications is a proudly black female-owned innovation company based in Johannesburg and the Northern Cape, using tech, sustainability and entrepreneurship to drive real change, from robotics and coding training to eco-friendly branding like plantable name tags and recycled bags. SASSA is all about impact with purpose. They even support last mile delivery and promote tools like the AI Toolkit by Dr. Alan Matono to help people grow. Visit sassacommunications.co.za to learn more or partner with them today.
Dreaming of a tropical escape? World Leisure Holidays has your ticket to paradise with exclusive getaways to the Indian Ocean Islands. From the beaches of Mauritius and the Maldives to the charm of Madagascar, Seychelles, Zanzibar and more, your dream destination awaits. Take advantage of early bird specials and pay stay offers. Call 011-285-2500 and mention 702 for a mystery discount. Or follow us on social media or contact your nearest travel professional. Start planning your escape today. T's and C's apply.
Checkers XXL Savings is on with the XXL Jackpot competition. New week, new deals, new jackpot. This week, save on Coca-Cola No Sugar, Light or No Caffeine Cold Drink, 2.25 litres, any 2 for 28 Rand. And Twin Saver 2-ply White Toilet Rolls, 9-pack, 3 for 199 Rand. Remember, buy any 3 participating products and get a scratch card to enter. Deals valid until Sunday at Checkers.
Okay, truck 7, that has 0 warning lights. Truck 8, it's just been serviced. I guess we're running like a well-oiled machine. Where would I be without My Way's comprehensive cover for my vans and trucks? Plus, cover for my customers' orders with goods and transit insurance. I guess we'll never know.
Visit myway.co.za or dial 0860 64 64 64 and get a quote today. My Way is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's, C's and standard rates apply. My Way. Live your way.
Some walks are just for exercise, others for leisure. But this walk is for something greater.
It's team building.
This July, you won't just take a step, you'll take a stand. You'll walk through history. You'll walk with it. On Sunday, 27 July, the 702 Walk the Talk, hosted by Freedom Park in the city of Tshwane, returns. It's a route that winds through the heart and soul of our capital city. From the sacred grounds of Freedom Park to the powerful steps of the Union buildings. Choose the 8 kilometer for those walking strong, the 6.7 kilometer in honor of Mandela Month, or the 4 kilometer for families and first-timers. Entries are 360 Rand for adults, 200 Rand for children under 12. Enter now on primemediaplus.com. 702 Walk the Talk, hosted by Freedom Park in the city of Tshwane, is where footsteps become footprints.
702
Health and Wellness.
23 minutes before 12 o'clock. It's time for our health and wellness feature. And today we're talking about the importance of routine. What's your routine? Right? A daily routine is seen as crucial, especially for adults, because it provides structure for us. It enhances productivity. It promotes both physical and mental well-being. So when you're establishing routines, you are better managing your time. You are reducing stress. You're achieving personal and professional goals. Well, at least that's what I often experience. Whether it's your morning ritual, a set time for exercise, or maybe you're winding down before bed, these routines create predictability and calm in our often chaotic lives. So a constant routine supports balance, and balance is key, right, to thriving in today's demanding world. What's your routine? That just helps create that level of creativity and help you with balance. And how do you keep to it? And what happens when you break away from that routine? Have you seen what actually happens? Does your day get destabilized? Do you get anxiety a lot? I would like you to share your experiences with us on 011-883-0702. That's the number you can call, or send a WhatsApp on 072-702-1702. Annerine Rousseau is a life coach who is going to guide us through this chat. Annerine, thank you for your time. Good morning.
Hi, morning. Thank you.
I mean, do we take routine that seriously? Because I think, a lot of people are just winging it each day, and maybe they don't really have a structure as to this is what I want to do at this time, this is what I want to do. But they often would say, I'm just going to go with the day. And then if really what they've experienced for the last 4 days is so almost similar, then they would say, yeah, that's my routine, even though they were not intentional about it. What's the difference then?
I agree with you. I don't think that people are serious about their routine. The difference is if you repeat your routine over and over and over again in the exact same sequence, you're in flow. And you can then rely on your routine. If you're not conscious of that, then you actually don't really have a routine. You're just busy doing things that are in a semi-sequence way, and then you can't rely on that when you need it. So I agree with you. It is not, people don't take it seriously enough that they need to look and see what their morning routine is. Not only morning, your evening routine. Yeah, definitely.
So why is it important for us to have these daily routines? How important are they for our overall well-being?
So I actually like to look at it routine in 3 stages. We've got our morning routine, what I do a productivity routine, so that's your working hours, because in that routine you need to be productive. And then you've got your evening routine and your nighttime routine. So the importance of doing that, it allows it to be predictable. So you don't have to be worrying about making decisions or worrying about what's going to happen there. You know it's there. You can rely on that. So that gives you a level of safety, and there's an intention there. You're doing it with an intent. Like for the example, for the productivity routine, the intent of it is actually to create a routine that creates productivity. If you think of a nighttime routine, what's the point of a nighttime routine? It's actually to get you to sleep. So yeah, I think it's you can rely on the fact that it creates that safety net for you.
What kind of impact then does that lack of routine have on our mental health particularly?
You're totally scattered if you don't have a routine. You feel stuck, and then that leads to the procrastination. It's almost as if your brain's foggy. Because, can I give you an example? Have you ever experienced it when you get to the office and you're sitting at your desk and you don't know what to do? You've just you get that overwhelming feeling of oh my word, I know I have a lot to do, but I don't know what I need to do. You can actually fix that with a routine. Because if you put into your productivity routine, let's say at 4:30 in the afternoon before you log off, in your routine is that you're going to write a to-do list of what has to happen when you arrive at work. That becomes part of your routine, and it fixes the fact that when you arrive at work, you're foggy. You're foggy because you've gone from one routine to another routine. You've gone from home to work or from your house to your office, and you're still busy with what's happened before. But now you need to sit down and you need to be productive. You can support that process with a routine.
Yes. Okay, so a lot of people struggle with staying consistent. Anirine, what tips can you help someone build and stick to that routine?
Okay, so first of all, you need to break it out, and you can choose, depending on what your lifestyle is, how to break it out. So I have a morning routine, a productivity routine. Like I said, it's based for work, and then I've got an evening routine. The first thing is choose one. So you're going to do, let's say, the morning routine. Then you're going to ask yourself, what do I want for the outcome of this routine to be? So for me, I want to be able to get through my morning routine feeling good, feeling active, feeling as if I want to enjoy the rest of my day. And how am I going to get that right? And then from that concept that you have in your mind, you need to choose the one thing. And you can't do all of it at once, because then you don't want to do anything. So choose one thing to make that routine help you. Choose one thing. A really nice common one that I always suggest is just try and wake up at the same time every day. And let's say over the weekends you don't want to wake up as early as during the week. That's okay. But over the weekend, then just try and stick to the routine that you do. So step one happens, you get out of bed, you brush your teeth. Then you make yourself a cup of coffee. Even when you're not waking up at the same time, have the same structure of step 1, step 2, step 3, so your body can rely on it, and then you can create that flow.
Yeah, okay. So let's hear from our listeners on 011-883-0702. That's the number you can call, or send us a WhatsApp voice note on 072-702-1702. What's your daily routine? What do you start by doing? Do you have a night routine as well, where this is the stuff you've got to do before you go to bed? And how does it help just rationalize and make sort of your life make sense, for lack of a better phrase? How does it help you just have things that are structured? And do you sometimes have anxiety if you're missing a particular element of your daily routine? Let us know, please. Give us a call or send us a WhatsApp voice note. We'll start with those after the break. It's 15 minutes before 12.
Zinzi, the Gen Z. Word on the street is you sold your car.
Yes, and I needed a glow up. Hashtag no hustle, no hassle.
So wait. The influencer got influenced by We Buy Cars.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. And they came to me. They checked the car, they gave me an offer. Oh, and they paid me immediately. Easier than an Insta Live, without the weird DMs at 2 a.m.
I didn't understand half of the things you just said, but hey, we buy cars. Geared for the glow up, geared for you.
Proudly South African brings the energy to the 702 Walk the Talk on Sunday, the 27th of July at Freedom Park in Tshwane. Swing by their lively water station where mascot Lolo Warona will keep spirits high with his signature dance moves. As thousands walk with purpose, it's a reminder that buying local fuels small businesses and helps create jobs. Every step counts, every swipe matters. Support South African-made products and help build a stronger economy. Vote with your wallet. Buy local to create jobs.
Rise to the challenge in Betway's Climb and Conquer with 50 million rand in prizes to be won, including 8 brand new cars. Climb our leaderboards until 27 July with bets on sports, slots, table, crash games, and more. Make the weekly top 10 at any point for a chance to drive away in a VW Polo, Toyota Hilux Double Cab, or High Ace. Plus, weekly leaderboard winners will earn a guaranteed 100,000 rand cash. Only at Betway. Terms and conditions apply. Licensed and regulated by the Western Cape Gambling and Racing Board. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to participate. For gambling counseling, call SARGF on 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp 076 675 0710.
In this year's Nedbank Business Ignite on 702, we put the spotlight on small businesses who dared to disrupt the industry, awarding one winner 200,000 Rand in cash and a 200,000 Rand advertising package.
It's good for businesses because what we did in automating businesses' financial reporting, we've managed to reduce the amount of time that it takes to prepare their financial statements from 2 weeks to just 2 days, even a day, which is a game changer. And what it does, we have tools that provide businesses and business leaders with real-time information of what's happening in their business in terms of their financial landscape, so that they are ahead of the game. They are able to make informed and timely decisions.
Nedbank Business Ignite on 702. Go to igniteyourbusiness.co.za to view the finalists and winner for 2025. Nedbank, an authorized FSP and registered credit provider.
702.
Health and wellness.
13 minutes before 12. What's your daily routine and how helpful has it been for your well-being? We're speaking to Anirine Rousseau, who's a life coach, about the importance of keeping that routine and staying consistent. I want to hear from you now, though. Let's start with Yasmin, who's calling us from Hyde Park. Yasmin, good morning.
Good morning, Clement, and good morning to your guest. So, Clement, I firmly believe, and I've done this, consistently and very, very dedicatedly for many years. So It's not something that I've just started a year or two ago. And I'm an early riser by nature, whether it's weekdays or weekends. I'm up early at 4 every day. And I believe that, you need to start with self. If you start with self and you go within yourself and you ground and you center yourself, be it through meditation, through prayer, through just grabbing that cup of coffee and going to sit outside in the morning air and just bracing yourself for, today is a new day. Center yourself. It is so important because as the day unfolds and whatever the day throws at you, you're able to cope with it because you're starting off in a calm and in a restful manner. You don't become panicky and disorganized. I know if I don't do that, when I wake up an hour into my day, if I haven't done that, I'm actually I have a panic and anxiety attack because you just don't know which way to go. If you start with self, you're sort of calm, you're setting the tone for the day, you're balancing your inner side with the outer. I don't know if it makes sense.
No, it does.
But it's so important. It's so important. And a favorite thing of mine is taking, even if I've spent my 1 hour with prayer, I've spent my 1 hour, half an hour with meditation, take a book, just take something, something, and go and sit on the patio or sit in a quiet spot in the house with a cup of coffee or a cup of tea and just give that time to yourself. It's so important. You cannot catapult out of bed and get into your day. It's crazy. You cannot do that.
Or jump on your
You
phone
have to have
the whole
some
morning.
people, as their eyes open, so
Oh,
they're
my
scrolling
goodness.
and they're checking who texted them, and
Oh.
that can wait. That can wait.
Yeah, I imagine your first thing you see is someone's story or tweet, or that's what you do, jump on a phone. Before you close your eyes, the last thing you see again, someone's messages on Instagram or Twitter. I don't know. Yeah. Anarine, your thoughts on what Yasmin is sharing?
I love it. I think that if you can add to your morning routine some form of grounding and some form of, like she said, prayer or meditation, or just find that self, like she said, I think it's a brilliant way to start. So yes, I agree. It's wonderful to have that, to have that in your morning routine.
Yeah. So there's some people, though, that are worried about working from home and how that can destabilize their routine. So what advice do you have for people working from home, and while they're there at home, they're managing multiple responsibilities, but then, because sometimes when you're working from home, you can get into the habit of just, you wake up, you open your laptop, and, you're no longer going out to the gym first before you get to the office because that was on your way to the office. So any advice for those who stay at home, who work from home?
Yes, I'm one of those, and definitely you need to give it some thought and be practical about what needs to happen. This form of routine is essential for you if you're working from home, because you need to still incorporate. You've got to ask yourself, what is it that what do I want to feel like when I'm leaving this? I'm waking up in the morning, how do I want to feel? And you need to create that structure and that form of routine in order to get you to what that feeling is. So if you're working from home, it makes it, the lines are blurred, right? You don't, the barriers are not there from when you're working and when you're not, and you need to actually look and fix your routine. So I would say that for most people, for all people, a routine is important. But if you're working from home, you've got to highlight and concentrate on it. And take the small step to fix it for your benefit.
Yeah. Here's another WhatsApp voice note that's come through.
Morning. The reason I actually started to make a routine was because I forget things, I would even forget. When I get to the car, I'll even forget whether I locked the door or not. And then I'll even forget, before I go to sleep, I'll even forget whether I locked the door or not, and little things like I'll forget whether I switched the microwave off by the plug, TV off by the plug. I'll even forget where I put my laptop. So I created that routine so that I could remember where things are, whether I have locked the door when I left, whether I've switched the plugs off, and so on. So that's the reason why I started a routine. It's not necessarily to say that if I don't have a routine, the only thing that will mess up my day would be that I forgot something.
Oh, me and you, forgetful. I mean, I diarize a lot, Anirine. I will diarize to even drink lots of water today, or I buy flowers today.
I'm with you, definitely.
So, what about people who are dealing with grief or burnout? Can routines actually help during tough times as well?
Absolutely, because when things are hard, you become scattered and you're almost not present, and your routine can just get you through that. Because you brush your teeth every morning, your body's automatically going to flow through that routine. It's a little bit like driving, right? When you drive and you think, oh, did I put my indicator on at that robot? You did, but you weren't conscious about it. Your routine is the exact same, and you can guide yourself when things are harsh. You can guide yourself with your routine because you're going to be doing it because you're so used to doing it. Your body becomes used to it.
Mm-hmm. There's another WhatsApp voice note that has come through.
Hello, Clement. With regards to the routine, I've read and I've been told numerous times that I need a routine for me to get my life in check. But I struggle with it because I'm a night owl, and I specifically understand that for you to have a productive day, you need to be able to wake up early. But I struggle waking up early because my brain becomes active at 10 p.m. And between 10 and 12, that's when I'm the most productive individual, especially when I'm studying. Right now I'm pregnant, so I've taken a break from that. But I feel like I want to get into the habit of being able to wake up at about 5 p.m. in the morning, so I can have time to meditate and I can have time to myself, because I love being in my own thoughts. I love grounding myself. I love, being one with me and the morning breeze. So I don't know how to just start and channel myself into waking up early. And I've tried numerous times, but I just struggle because I have this active brain at night.
And Irene?
Yeah, you're not alone there at all. So this is my theory, right? And this is going to be dependent on if you can or can't do this. So hear me out first. I believe that if you are most active between 10 at night and 12 at night, then my suggestion to you is be proactive during that time. Don't allow that opportunity where your brain wants to work and your brain wants to start function. Do it at that time. Don't wait until 5 o'clock in the morning, because that's not your natural time of being proactive. So I would say that for that period, fix the routine to make that section work for you. Why not be proactive with that time when your body wants to be proactive? If in the event that your lifestyle, you've got to get up early and you actually have to be up at 5:30 in the morning and you're struggling with that, put an alarm clock on every single day, including the weekends. And I know that sounds harsh, especially if you're not a morning person and now you need to do it in the weekends. But the idea is that you need to do it for 6 weeks. I know the theory is 21 days, but you need to do it for 6 weeks, where you actually open your eyes and you get up at that time and it becomes a natural habit. If you keep it consistent, don't try it once or twice, try it for 42 days. And I can guarantee you that you will spark up in the morning because your body will get in tune with the routine. So 2 things there, right? Is I think listen to your body, and if you're productive at that specific time, use it to your advantage. If your lifestyle doesn't work out that way, well, then train your body to do what it actually needs to do, and it's very possible.
Yeah. Anirine Rousseau, life coach, thank you so much for guiding us through this chat. It's 4 minutes before 12.
Did you know that every hour someone in South Africa is diagnosed with blood cancer or a blood disorder? DKMS Africa helps patients find a matching stem cell donor, ensuring that patients get the transplant they need. This Mandela Month, be part of the mission. Donate 50 rands towards the Swab Kids Save Lives campaign. Your donation will help more people register as potential stem cell donors. Visit dkmsafrica.org today. Every rand and every swab count in the fight against blood cancer.
Proudly South African brings the energy to the 702 Walk the Talk on Sunday, the 27th of July at Freedom Park in Tshwane. Swing by their lively water station where mascot Lolo Warona will keep spirits high with his signature dance moves as thousands walk with purpose. It's a reminder that buying local fuels small businesses and helps create jobs. Every step counts. Every swipe matters. Support South African-made products and help build a stronger economy. Vote with your wallet. Buy local and create jobs.
It took time to create the life you've built. Every milestone, every moment, you've earned it. Indra takes the time to understand what's priceless to you, tailoring insurance to match a life of distinction. True peace of mind comes from knowing that everything you've worked for is insured with precision. It starts with a conversation. It starts with helloindra.co.za. Indra Risk Services is an authorized financial services provider. Coming up
on the Midday Report.
How are you doing, Siri Media? Looking all prettied up? Huh? Got the makeup. Lady hairstyle.
Why are you looking on pretty? Why can't you just say Umuntle Joan today? Your hair looks great.
Oh yeah, guy.
I came to work just like you.
Look at me. I just woke up and I came here.
It's not my fault. I'm not pride. I'm joking.
So, what's coming up on the Midday Report today?
Look, we're going to continue somewhat with the issues around the allegations being made by KZN Police Commissioner General Mkwanazi. Pop Crew has weighed in on it, so we'll speak to them. We'll speak, of course, about the tariffs. It is major businesses are impacted. So we'll get a view from them. We'll speak about the economic position. South Africa has responded. There's a difference around the data. They don't agree on the data. So we'll get an understanding of that. And we'll go to Mpumalanga, where the ANC has a delegation that's visiting the family of the former deputy president. But the conversation with them is their defense of the Minister of Higher Education.
Are you kidding me? Did you hear Figile yesterday?
Why is nobody talking about the media even? The attacks on the media
And then
that I find really appalling.
Because we pointed out that
he doesn't deal with the contents of the coverage.
Yeah.
But in fact, he stands there and he calls us all sorts of names. It's unacceptable. I'm trying to hold myself back, but it won't be for too long. I know
before
that.
they do another briefing to address the media. So please move on to the next story.
We'll of course also be focusing on Eastern Cape Judge President Sabin Benenge. He continues to testify. He's speaking about the emojis.
Yeah.
Says he thought a banana meant that in its literal sense. So all of that and more.
Wait, did he send the banana or the other thing?
It's 12 o'clock, Clement.
Okay, it is 12 o'clock. Let's get out of here, Abel. Our time is up. We'll be back tomorrow between 9 and 12. Have a beautiful day, my friends. Bye-bye.
This is EWN.
Good afternoon, I'm Paul Rapata. The South African Social Security Agency says beneficiaries who've come forward to verify their sources of income can expect grant payments today. SASSA delayed some payments this month to target beneficiaries who are suspected of having extra sources of income. Grant recipients who have received communications from SASSA are urged to visit branches to verify. Ntokozo Khumalo has more.
Many beneficiaries have been queuing at SASSA branches across the country in attempts to get answers and receive their payments. Close to 210,000 people were identified by SASSA as beneficiaries suspected of not communicating their sources of income. In the agency's attempt to ensure that only eligible South Africans are receiving grants, it has delayed payments for some beneficiaries. SASSA spokesperson Paseka Letsatsi clarifies that these payments are not suspended but delayed.
If your account has been flagged, you won't get your pay on the 3rd. It will be delayed and the payment will happen on the 8th. Delaying it is to make sure that you come forward and present yourself to a SASSA office and say, in actual fact, SASSA, you are wrong. I am not employed.
He adds that SASSA will continue with this method next month.